Welcome everybody back to episode 2 of Mass Land Destruction, the MLD cast, if you will, the number one Magic the Gathering podcast, as voted by my mom.
100%.
Today
Biggest
we're
fan.
gonna go through some Modern Horizons 3 spoilers. We're gonna try to just stick to the stuff that's gonna be relevant to non-commander formats. We'll cover the commander stuff on a later episode. So I think with that, let's just hop into it. Yeah.
All right, so we got a cycle of at least I think it's 5 total flip walkers. Seems to be one of each color on the front side. We already talked about Ajani on the first episode, but here we got Sorin, Ral, Tamio, and Grist. So Sorin is a 1/4 black, one colorless lifelink with extort, and at the beginning of your post combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, you may exile it and flip it. So they flip like the Origins Walker do, so they're a new object when they come back. On the backside, it's Sorin, Ravenous, Neonate, and also keeps the extort as his passive, starts at 3 loyalty, +2 to create a food, -1 to deal damage equal to the number of life you've gained this turn to any target, and -6 to gain control of target creature, and it becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. It gets a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than that creature or Sorin.
I like that all of these have a theme of if you have a permanent that is the opposite color of their front side, because they're all multicolored on the back. The Sorin's black white, Ral's blue red, Tamio's blue green, and Grist is green black. So it's, and I don't know. I don't think this has a place very much in modern. It may see some fringe play in Soul Sisters, but
It's maybe a Soul Sisters card, but I don't think it like makes any kind of archetype by itself unless there's like some serious life gain shenanigans. But it doesn't feel like it's really high on the list.
no, it seems. I mean, Extort's fun in Commander, but in
Yeah, in modern, I
one
don't
v
really see
one,
it getting played. It's gonna be
yeah,
like
no,
difficult. Like yeah, you can crack a food and flip it, but like how good's the backside? You have to gain a decent amount of life for that -1 to actually be like effective. So probably not. Probably a niche role if anything.
yeah, just some goofy little combo. Let's move over to Ral Monsoon Mage. It's a red and one. He's a 1/3. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Ral deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you can exile Ral and bring him back transformed. On the backside, he's Ral Leyline Prodigy. He has a static that says when he enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on him for each instant or sorcery spell you've cast this turn. Uh, I think this kind of nombos a little bit, but whatever. He has 2 loyalty, and his +1 is reduce instant and sorcery spells you cast this turn by 1. Neg 2 deals 2 damage as you divide it among up to 2 targets, and then if you control blue permanent, draw a card. And then his Neg 8 lets you exile the top 8 cards of your library, and you can cast instant or sorceries for free.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if it all works out for you, I think you kind of just win the game most of the time.
Yeah,
But the issue becomes you have to not flip it so many times in order to get like the powerful ultimate off the backside
and I
or
don't
get
want to
yourself
risk it.
closer. And yeah, and that's just risking it because what if you just lose the flip, right? So like
Yeah,
I don't know. It's one of those things where like I'd have to play with it to see how it actually feels to do the thing because on paper it's like kind of iffy.
I do think this has a deck though. I do think this sees some modern play, and then it'll either be good and it'll take off, or it will be just a nonsense card that
A
is
solid
played
B
for a
tier card.
week and then yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, main deck, because it's not a sideboard card either. This is a main deck card. You're running this with the intention of running it all the time.
Yeah, you're trying to storm with this card. Like that's
Yeah,
the whole
it
point.
hopefully it works out, but I don't know. Some of these cards are more fun than they are good,
Yeah.
and I think winning with fun cards and then becoming meta because they're just silly and fun is better than uh being an evoke elemental.
True. So up next, I'm gonna save the best for last. So up next, we're gonna go Grist, Voracious Larva.
Ah, don't do my
So
boy like that.
it's a 1 green, 1/2 death touch. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard, or if you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay a green. If you do, flip it. And on the backside, it's Grist the Plague Storm. Uh, Starts with 3 loyalty +1 to create a 1/1 black and green insect token. Mill 2 cards, and you can put a death touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way. -2 to naturalize, destroy target artifact or enchantment. -6, which says for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black green insect. I think
Important to note that -6 doesn't exile; it just makes copies. I think that is super strong.
I want, like, it's one of those things where like it might be good in modern, but it probably isn't that good in like
Game two.
Commander. Oh, it's definitely not good in game 2, but
It's
like
definitely not good in game 2.
it's like one of those things where in Commander I almost want it to be all graveyards versus just your own. But that might be too powerful because it technically is a 1-drop, but I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is the most restrictive to flip too, because it's the only one that costs mana outright to flip,
Yeah.
and it's specifically a green to flip it. So
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
like, I mean, turn 2 you flip it. I mean, this is a turn 2 planeswalker if we're being honest about it.
Yeah, at least.
It's turn 1 Grist, turn 2 Stitcher Supplier, pay to flip it. It's it is enters
The Griff Battle from the graveyard,
yeah.
so it has to be reanimated or be like a grave.
Milled an Archamiibo. Let's go. Turn 2.
Archamiibo, let's go.
Turn 2.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be difficult. Maybe there's some hoops to jump through, but I'm not really sure the payoff is worth it on the backside.
Yeah, I don't think this sees modern play. I think it might be a funny commander card.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Yeah. And then we've saved the best for last. Tamiyo Inquisitive Student. It's 1 blue. She's a 0/3. She has flying. Whenever Tamiyo attacks, you get to investigate, make a clue token. And then whenever you draw your 3rd card, she flips. She flips into Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar. She's got 2 loyalty, +2, and she anytime an opponent's creature attacks you, it gets -1/-0. Her -3 returns an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand, and if you target a green card with that, you get 1 mana of any color. And then her -7 draws half your deck, and you have no maximum hand size.
It's kind of gas.
If you can get her to +7 or the -7, yeah. I mean, but that's what 3 uses of her.
I think like
+2?
the powerful thing is stuff in like Legacy where you get to go brainstorm after this card and immediately flip her. And
Yeah,
the earlier you can do that, the more likelihood you're going to get to the -7, because there's not like a lot of targeted planeswalker removal spells that get played in Legacy at the moment. So if you could get her to flip, then I think it's going to be gas. The big thing here is like also in like older formats like Legacy, you have a lot more free counterspell action, like Force of Will, along with Force of Negation to protect her after you play her on turn 1. So
what I've decided that I hate about Tamiyo is that when you get hit by Ragavan, they're casting this 100%.
yeah, true, 100% every time.
It's too good not to. And then Scam's not really drawing a lot of cards, but if they flip her, they have that. But Scam's not drawing the cards, so they're just taking it so you can't have it. And that, I think my favorite thing,
so you can't have it. That's great.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about this lineup of planeswalkers is you have 1-drops and you have 2-drops, and I mean, the Tamiyo seems the best out of the pack, but I think Ral probably comes in a close second.
I think Ajani and Ral are pretty tied together because Johnny's like easier. It's pretty easy to flip.
Yeah,
it has like a pretty good ability on the backside.
He buffs cats, doesn't he?
Yeah, he buffs cats, but he also deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control, and then you gain that much life if you control white permanent. I think it is.
Yeah.
Or red permanent.
A red permanent. Yeah, it's red permanent because he flips. He flips
from a
red white. Which I mean, this is a cool idea. I like this line. I hope they do more of this in the
Yeah,
future.
it's fun to look back at like these planeswalkers pasts, but I want like the thing is like I almost I loved Origins because of
Yeah.
this style of effect. I thought it was really cool from like a lore perspective and also from like an actual gameplay perspective. It was a lot of fun. Um,
I like, yeah, the and I mean the Jace is still relevant.
I mean, I think almost all of them. No, the blue one. Which one's We got Jace. We got um, Liliana. We got Nissa. We got Chandra.
It was Gideon.
It was Gideon,
Yeah.
and all of them saw play in a deck. Every single one of them saw
Yeah,
play in a standard
it
deck.
was. I remember Origins. That was I kind of got out of standard.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jace was the most powerful, but Chandra saw play in a mono red deck. Gideon saw play in mono white. Humans. Nissa saw play all over the place because flipping her and just making Nishaya was just gas.
Honestly, I say that there's a Tamio and Ral in the same deck. That's probably how this is going to end up going.
That would be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, and we're moving on.
So we got the last three of the flare cycle that we talked about last week. So we got Flare of Malice, Flare of Fortitude, and Flare of Duplication. Flare of Malice is my choice for the best of this cycle. It's 2 black, 2 colorless. You may sacrifice a non-token black creature rather than pay its mana cost, and it makes each opponent sacrifice a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures or planeswalkers they control. And it's an instant speed card. The big thing for
Yes.
me is that Black has a lot of disposable creatures that they would love to sacrifice to the graveyard. Heck, this puts your Gravecaller in the graveyard for random combo shenanigans. This does a lot.
Citrus supplier.
Your Citrus Supplier to mill some more.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best of the cycle.
I do think that these are not only modern viable, but I think these do end up being commander viable in the end as well.
They could be, yeah.
I especially the white one, which will go ahead and Flare of Fortitude. It's 2 white and 2 for an instant. You can sacrifice a non-token white creature to cast it for free, and then until the end of the turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. This is better for multiple reasons than I thought, because it's not preventing damage; it is stopping your life total from changing.
Yeah, so you can't get like Skull Cracked or
Questing Beast.
Questing Beast. It doesn't. Those don't stop this.
However, in Commander, you still lose if they have a damage prevention thing, or because you still can take the commander damage. So
Yeah,
that
you can still
is,
take the commander damage.
yeah.
You still take infect damage.
But other than that, I think this is good. I think pretty much every white deck in modern will. I mean, okay, except for like Domain. But like I think other than Domain, Boris Convoke is Soul Sisters could totally play this, and it is absolutely valid and fantastic in both of those decks.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I think it's like a good sideboard card more than is a main.
Oh
deck
yeah,
card.
absolutely. I might main board one just to kind of be safe,
To
and
hedge the
then
bets, yeah.
yeah,
Get some percentage points in the mirror.
exactly. Because the one time this blows somebody out, it blows them out. I
Yeah.
mean, this
Then
yeah.
we got the red one is just Reverberate. It's a Flare of Duplication, 2 red and a colorless, instant speed. You may sacrifice a non-token red creature rather than pay its costs, and you can copy an instant or sorcery spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. This one, I can
I
see.
think this one goes in the same deck Ral goes in.
Yeah, this feels like a storm card. It could be good, but it also might not be because, like, do you really want to sacrifice, let's say, your Goblin Electromancer in order to do a Reverberate? Unless, like, that Reverberate is, like, the killing blow.
Magnum opus.
Like, you could, I guess, like, they play a counter spell and they go to counter the card that's going to kill them, and then you Reverberate the card that's going to kill them for free. Could be gas, but not really sure.
It's yeah, and again, all of these effects are always good in Commander because you're in a singleton format. So
Yeah, getting more copies of the same card is pretty good, and there's plenty of red decks that like Reverberates. So
yeah, and yeah, it's I think all three of these are good. I think the green one is niche in certain formats.
I think the green one will see a lot of modern play, if only for turn 1 Arboreal Grazer, sacrifice it to Flare of Cultivation, have 4 mana on turn 2.
Yeah. Yup.
But we'll
And
see.
then the blue one's bad. So all of
Yeah.
these are infinitely better than the blue one.
The free counter spell, but you have to sacrifice a non-token blue creature. You do not have a lot of non-token blue creatures that you're willing to sacrifice most of the time.
The only scenario I think of is you evoke a subtlety to get rid of something, and they Veil of Summer, and then you sack the subtlety to counter for free.
Like you could technically play Snapcaster, target a different spell in your graveyard to give it flashback, sacrifice the Snapcaster to the counter spell, and still have your mana up to cast the other spell.
True,
But-
that's another good one.
But like that's a lot of hoops to jump through, and I'm not sure if that's really good because Snap hasn't really been good in Modern for how long?
Oh, yeah, a long time. I remember when that was $100 card.
Yeah.
I remember getting blown out by Snapcaster in Standard, where we're gonna Snapcaster in, cast Supreme Verdict. Have a good day.
Snap in, Vapor Snag in the Delver Secrets deck for a while.
Oh man, yeah, that one.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That was the last time we played a Legacy deck in Standard. That was that one.
I think the flares are free spells done right though, and I think this is a good direction to take them.
Yeah.
The
They're
evoke
niche,
elementals
And they're
should
not
never
the
have
easiest thing that can be cast, but they're still good.
had the evoke elementals should never have been printed. Those were huge mistakes.
I mean, we got one of them out of the format at least.
I mean, I like playing Scam. It's really fun. It's really fun to hit somebody for 3 cards on turn 1, like, and they just have to just lay there and take it.
This is except I just thought seized you 3 times. Have fun.
Why? Oh no,
So-
you mulligan to 4?
The next cycle we have are the medallions. So we got Sapphire, Ruby, Pearl, Emerald, and Jet. They all reduce their specific colors, spells you cast by 1 colorless.
That Jet medallion art goes so hard. Are these getting a regular border print, or are they only the showcase?
They have the regular border
Okay.
print, yeah. My big thing is like this is just like a good reprint as far as like value wise is concerned because they haven't been printed in a while. Like I don't know why these aren't just auto includes in most of their commander decks, especially for when they're playing monocolored. They should be just an auto include in their precons, but they're not. I'm not sure if any really gonna see play. It's difficult to say. I think the red one's probably the closest thing to seeing play personally because of like Storm likes having this kind of effect. And Storm has been kind of itching to be playable again, so we'll see. But besides from that, I'm not sure.
Solid reprints. They're not expensive cards. Base. I mean, maybe these special arts will probably be a couple of bucks just because they're new and they're cool artworks. But that's probably
The big thing in here is just getting more supply out, so people actually have these cards.
This is 100% Commander reprints, but they're relevant to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh boy, the big boys.
Yeah, the mostly Commander, but maybe possibly Fringe playable in Modern.
Oh no, these totally go in Tron. Don't even sweat it. These are so good in Tron. For you audio listeners, of course, these are the 2 new Eldrazi Titans. The last 2 we covered Emrakul last week, Emrakul last week. You have Ulamog the Defiler, 10 mana, 7/7. When you cast him, target opponent exiles half of their library rounded up. He has ward, a sacrifice to permanents. When he enters the battlefield, he gets +1/+1 counters equal to the greatest mana value amongst cards in exile. And then he has, for some horrible mistake of a reason, Annihilator X, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on him.
It's like it's one of those things where like if you get Ulamog down and he doesn't get interacted with, you've like won the game immediately.
Yeah, the part I think that is besides the Annihilator part, because that was a horrible. That's just an awful oppressive mechanic. But I mean, I guess it comes attached to a 10 mana 7/7, so whatever. Is his enter the battlefield doesn't care where the cards are exiled.
It's a cast. Oh no, you mean the plus counters? Yeah. They don't care.
The mana value doesn't check like how it was exiled. It's just anything in exile.
Yeah.
So if you were running the new land, the new Eldrazi land, where you play it and then exile a colorless spell to it,
A 7 or a 7 cost or more, yeah.
yeah, that counts for him. Like,
And then if you
if
do actually cast him, you get to exile half of your opponent's library, so maybe they have something large in there too.
or they're playing Boros Convoke and you got a four mana value card.
Yeah. Oh,
Oof.
you might get a 5. You might get a 5.
You might get a 5, yeah. But I mean, and if it's scam, you definitely just get the 5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those things where like I'm actually like not sure if I want to cast this spell more, if I want to just cheat this into play. Mostly because, as we aforementioned, evoke elementals, exile cards. So my favorite thing headcanon wise is going turn 1. Well, not necessarily turn 1, but Solitude, exile your dude, exiling an Atraxa to it, and
yeah.
then reanimating Ulamog out of my graveyard with one of the many different ways to do so.
And that's the other thing. Like I think how you put him into play is better based on the deck, like changes based on what deck you're playing against. Like
Yeah.
if they're playing Domain, I think casting him is the proper choice. Because everything in Domain, huge mana value. But like other top decks in the format, I think cheating him in and just grabbing what you can get with the exile is fine.
Yeah. So it really depends, because like the Annihilator is good, but also like sometimes you might just want to reanimate it or something, and don't really worry about what's in exile.
And, I mean, and
a 7/7 can be a 7/7 on turn 2 can kind of be good. Then if they target,
if it comes down fast enough, that ward is just hexproof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, I know we have free spells that can deal with him. Yeah, he gets subtlety, like, but that is not subtlety, solitude.
But that's still a ability. So.
Yeah, but you just sack the solitude to the ward, and then one other permanent. It's I think that's probably the best way to deal with him. I think this card's fun. I hope with all of the Tron support, I hope we get to see Tron come back. I love dirty Tron players.
I just want Eldrazi to like have a deck again. Maybe not as impressive as last time, but
oh yeah, you don't like take 20 on turn 3? Come on.
Listen,
You're being unreasonable.
I liked it, but I didn't like playing against it.
True. All right,
then the other one we got, Kozilek, is the Broken Reality. A 9-mana 9/9. When you cast it, up to 2 players each manifest 2 cards from their hands. For each card manifest this way, you draw a card. Other colorless creatures you control get +3/+2. So the important thing here is in 1v1 formats, it's pretty much your opponent discards 2 cards and you manifest the 2 cards out of your hand, and then you draw 4 cards.
And your manifest creatures are gigantic in comparison.
Yours are 5/4s compared to their 2/2s. And especially if they're like low, taking 2 cards out of their hand can be super detrimental. So I can see it having some play. The only issue is like if they manifest a decent card, then like a decent creature, then maybe there's an issue. And he doesn't have any protection, so he does just kind of die. But maybe the 4 cards is worth it. I'm not really sure.
I mean, he does survive all the good removal in the format,
except for Leyline.
Yeah. But I still get to draw 4 cards before you get the Leyline, so it'll be all right.
Yeah, but I mean, I can also just play the One Ring and draw that many cards.
That card's problematic.
5 mana
I
less,
like
so.
how, and I'm pretty sure, and I know that like in theory it's not this way, but on paper, I love how this is the first printing of Kozilek with a higher base power toughness than Ulamog.
Yeah, true.
Then that's, I mean, like I know like that it just is like that on the card, and it's not like that in practice, but it's just funny to note. I think the Kozilek is probably, if I were gonna play, I would play 1 Kozilek and 2 Ulamogs. I think I would rather have the Ulamog than the Kozilek.
I still think Ulamog 2.0 is better. But
we'll see. Yeah. Well, I don't know, because this kind of does more on cast. You still have to untap to attack with him.
Yeah, but the other one is like you take 2 permanents, which is like answering the board is usually more important than answering half their library.
Yeah.
But
true. But at the same time, if he comes down, yeah, you still have. And if if they solitude your Ulamog, sheesh, at the life you gain.
Yeah, you gain a lot of life, hopefully.
All right, I'm hype on this card. This is one of my favorites in the set. I think it does more than we think it does, and that is Thief of Existence. It's a green, a colorless, and a generic for an Eldrazi creature. He is devoid, which is a silly, silly mechanic that does. I think we have found like one or two niche instances where devoid matters.
Yeah, devoid matters for like the evoke elementals because they're not
Yeah.
colored in your hand, and that's kind of
But this works on Veil of Summer doesn't hit this either. And I know Veil of Summer's a very niche sideboard card, but oh well, Veil of Summer doesn't work on this anyway. It's green, but whatever. Thief of Existence. Well, it's a 3/4. When you cast this spell, exile up to one target non-creature, non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. If you do, Thief of Existence gains when this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. This is very, this is very good. It snipes all your problematic ley lines. It removes most of your problematic creatures in some of the better decks.
I mean, it removes like Leyline of Sanctity, but it definitely doesn't hit like Leyline.
It's Guild
the
Pact
Leyline.
is the only one. No, it hits Guild Pact too. They're all 4 mana.
Yeah, but it doesn't hit the Leyline Binding because it's 6.
Oh yeah, no, Leyline Binding is huge, but at the same time, this the ability that it gains doesn't really make it abusable.
Yeah,
so like
true.
yeah, like you can't flicker my Thief of Existence to draw cards.
Yeah, it has
because
to
it
exile
only-
a card first.
Yeah, it only works the one time, and it is also just exile based removal, which is just good. It's I think this is a fantastic sideboard card if you're running green. I think it deals with a lot. I mean, you're in green, you can remove enchantments anyway, but like
This still hits
Good.
like this still is like a catch-all for anything, like non-creature.
also I did realize that
non-land,
it does say non-creature. Oops.
Yeah, non-creature, non-land, but still.
Yeah.
So
it-
artifacts, enchantments, battles, things like
Battles.
that.
It does hit battles.
Technically, it does
Planeswalkers.
hit battles and planeswalkers. You flip your planeswalker over, and you just get Thief of Existence next turn. Get out
Why?
of here, kid.
Get out of here.
Nice Tameo. Put him away. So next we got what I think this card is kind of nuts, and I feel like every day I think about it, I find more things to do with it in my brain.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Agreed.
if like number one, so it's Kozilek's Unsealing. It's 2 and a blue enchantment, devoid, has no color. Whenever you cast a creature spell with 4, 5, or 6 mana value, create 2/01 Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice a creature, add to colorless. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. So this works great with like things like Affinity. So you cast like Thought Monitor and you get a bunch of stuff. You cast Frogmite, you draw 3 cards. So,
Mirror Enforcer,
Mirror
Frogmite's
Enforcer.
4-drop.
I'm sorry, yeah. Mirror Enforcer, you draw 3 cards. Frogmite, you get 2 mana back. So
And it does just say creature spell too. It doesn't have a colorless
Yeah.
requirement to
Yeah,
it. It
exactly.
is just
so
yeah.
I don't
This
know.
card is pretty good.
I think this card just kind of keeps going up and up the more I think about it. Now I don't know. I'm not sure if it like you even want to necessarily have a slot in like let's say an Affinity deck, but you could make a different version of an Affinity deck that wants to play this, or you
This
could
is
just
also
play this in like
uncommon.
or you can just play this in a good Eldrazi deck. Not really sure. Like playing Thought Not Seer and getting 2 spawns is okay. It's not bad. Refunding
No.
half the mana
Yeah.
cost back for casting the spell is good. And that just ramps you to cast a 7-drop the next turn. So I can see
Yeah.
it being worth
This
it.
card curves out so well.
Yeah.
It wants you to curve it out.
Yeah.
And it's it being devoid, which I think is so funny because it dodges Ugin.
Yeah, it's colorless. So
Yep.
So Ugin can't exile things that are colorless. So another thing that's like hilarious to me is I kind of want to cast Kozilek with this on the battlefield and just draw 7. Just I'm gonna draw a
Yeah,
new hand now, and you figure it out.
this is
But
your problem now. And then they
yeah,
just Wrath of God, and that's it.
yeah, that's
Get
all.
farewelled.
Dang it, I tried. But yeah, I want to see I want to see something with this now. It might not go anywhere, right? Because it is a 3-mana do nothing technically, but if the format
Yeah.
is slow enough and we can do that on one turn, then maybe I think it's going to be gas. So
I hope. Yeah, dude, some of these are fun. I like fun cards better than good cards. And that's just how the game should be played. Moving on, we have some threshold lands here. We have Barbarian Ring. It taps for red and does 1 to you. And then if you have Threshold, which is 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you can pay a red, tap it, sacrifice Barbarian Ring, and deal 2 damage to a target.
it's a burn land. It just goes into burn. They
Yeah,
they get to have another land that does 2 damage to their opponents. So
it doesn't enter tapped. I think it's just good. I think I have, I don't know, like, I mean, it's a pain land, like,
yeah, who cares if you take one in like a burn deck?
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah, I mean, modern's basically a 15 health format anyway.
Yeah.
So I think also we have to remember all of these cards go to timeless as well.
Yeah. I also like both of these cards, both of these threshold lands, because they deal 1 damage. You could see some sort of play in like a Death Shadow deck.
Yeah, well, we know there's going to be 3 more, so
Yeah.
we'll see those probably next week.
And then we have Cephalid Coliseum, which is the blue version of Barbarian Ring. So it adds a blue and does 1 damage to you. If you have Threshold, you can tap it and sacrifice it. But this one is target player draws 3 cards, then discards 3 cards. So this is like a huge like dredge card. It gets played a bunch in, I believe it's Legacy Dredge, or at least it
flips
was.
Tameo at instant speed.
It does flip Tameo immediately. And yeah, I think this card's gonna be seen probably more decks it's gonna be useful in than Barbarian Ring, and it might make Dredge pop up for a little bit.
I
But
love Dredge.
we'll
I
see.
love Dredge so much. I wish it wasn't bad. I played Manaless Dredge and Legacy up until they banned Gitaxian Probe, and then that deck fell apart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were like, we're gonna target ban this card because it's played in all these decks, and Dredge just stopped existing pretty much.
Yeah, it's so fun though to just combo off on turn 2 or 3 and just win.
Yeah.
It's for the YouTube viewers, you've noticed on the sides of some of these slides we have the little us's. We are putting those on cards that we think are going to be just really strong in modern.
It's like our seal of approval.
Yes. Next, I love these. I told you I wanted to talk about some of these because I love MDFCs. I think that these lands, for those of you audio listeners, it's they're the pay 3 life so that they enter untapped MDFCs. I think these are super fair, super balanced. I like having the option for them to not enter tapped. And I don't know. MDFC was just a fun change. I think it did a lot for the game. I know it's in paper, it's a little cumbersome to deal with, but we'll start here with Fell the Profane. It's black, and 2 for an instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. And then the backside is Fell Mire, which is taps for black. You can pay 3 to have it enter untapped.
Yep. This is your kind of a power crept Hagra Mauling, which Hagra Mauling sees play in a lot of commander decks, seems to play in some modern decks, but it's the important thing is it's a removal spell in your land base that you can count as a land. So it's kind of gas. Oops, all spells is gonna love this.
And it's also instant speed planeswalker removal.
Yeah, I mean we got plenty of that in modern.
Yeah,
but
I remember when we. I
not
remember
in our mana base.
I remember when the best planeswalker removal was sorcery speed, Dreadbore.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Here's Heroes Downfall." We were like, "Man, this is so good."
Yeah, Heroes Downfall, casual $20 when it was in standard.
Yeah,
that was a fun deck though.
Then the next one we have the blue one, which is Sink into Stupor, which is a blue and a colorless instant speed, return target spell or non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and it has the pay 3 life it enters the battlefield tapped and it taps for a blue. So this one I put up here because I think that this card becomes a good protection card in a lot of decks, and especially decks that can bounce lands to hand. For instance, like any like kind of prime time deck that's playing the bounce lands, then you get to play this early as an island effectively, and then bounce it to your hand and have it as a protection spell. There's
I mean, even if you put it in off a Boreal Grazer, like
Yeah.
you still get to put it in.
Yeah, you get a decent number of lands that you also get spells on it. So it's just one of those things where you get to abuse it because it's MDFC. And then again, Oops All Spells I think is gonna love this card. Also, I don't know if this means that Oops All Spells is gonna be like a valuable a good modern deck or not. Probably not. But we'll
I mean,
see.
Amulet Titan's still strong. If Amulet Titan runs it, it'll be good.
Yeah,
like,
it might be like
that's
a one of an Amulet Titan, but
Yeah.
sometimes
Well,
it'll
because I mean, you
matter.
get all the lands out of your deck anyway. So
Yeah. And then
um,
I put a Drowner of Truth on here. It's a 7 mana, 7/6. But this one on the backside is a dual land of green and blue, but it always enters tapped. The big thing for me, though, is that this is a 7-drop that exiles to Ugin's Labyrinth.
yeah.
It's also a land in your deck, so it's like almost free to play in a lot of cases.
There's a cycle of the basically Shockland MDFCs, and then there is a cycle of the tapped
Tap
dual lands.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I like the tap dual lands are kind of slow in modern, but in timeless I think they'll be okay. I mean, Spelunking is huge on Arena, so I think if any deck that's running green is probably just gonna run this, and because they have Spelunking anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that these cards aren't available in like Historic. I don't think, because I think Historic would be like changes the format as a whole. But
Yeah. What do we have next?
we have Keurig and Lelia.
The Keurig, son of Yawgmoth. I remember when they printed this card the first time, everybody thought it was going to be like the biggest deal in Commander. It was $40 pre-release prices, and then immediately fell off because where it's good, it's not killer. I know it had a CEDH run for a little bit. But so Kirk, son of Yawgmoth, it's Phyrexian Black, Phyrexian Black, Phyrexian Black, and 4. This is his second printing as a Phyrexian because it wasn't a creature type in his first one. I believe you said the Post Malone printing has the Phyrexian creature type. It's a 2/2 with lifelink. He replaces all black mana symbols in spells with pay 2 life instead. And then whenever you cast a black spell, he gets a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah. This card is interesting. This card is like maybe good in like a Death Shadow kind of build.
Because this is the first modern printing. This will be the first time it's been playable outside of Legacy and Commander.
If this gets to play in modern, it probably makes a new deck. I would imagine.
But this is the first time it'll be on Arena too. I see this being a brawl deck. Honestly,
100%. It will 100% be a brawl deck.
And then speaking of brawl decks,
your favorite, Lelia the Blade Reforged. 2 in a red, 2/2. Legendary Spirit Warrior, haste. Whenever it attacks, you exile top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or your graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on Lelia. This card is deceptively strong, not just in Brawl XD, but like in 60 card formats. This card is pushed, and I'm not sure how good it will be in modern, but I have a feeling that it's going to be somewhere. If you ever play it, like it gets so big so fast, it's kind of ridiculous. And there's so many ways for you to exile cards from your library or from your graveyard slowly. So
what's really funny is I just realized this. Just let the Ragavan hit you. You get a +1/+1 counter.
Also true. Immediately becomes a 3/2, and then it can trade with Ragavan effectively.
Yeah, it's I played this brawl deck, the one where you run like 94 lands and 6 other cards, and they all just discover Cascade into Atali's favor, and then you have a 130 Trampler.
Yeah, because that's the big thing too. Is like Cascade slash Discover. You technically exile one at a time and then check to see if it fits the conditions. If it doesn't, you repeat the process. So every card you flip over grows Lelia until you stop.
It's not a good deck, by the way. I'm not recommending the deck. It's stupid. It's
fun. It's one of the, you got like $5 and want to build a brawl deck.
It's like a 60%. I have like a 60% win rate on it because as long as they're not running interaction, if they tap out, you win. I have held on to Lelia until like turn 8 without dying, and then just windmill slammed her, windmill slammed whatever else was in my hand to do my discover, win. Profit. It's so fun.
Yeah. So like a big thing is like if you look at Lelia in like, this is gonna be a weird shout out, but Canadian Highlander, this card is gas in that format, and I think that's like just a look into what it can do in modern. So like,
yeah, I mean there's tons of support for exiling the top of your library. I mean
Red Impulse Draw is what Red's been doing, and hey, this is a huge payoff for doing that.
And she has haste. That haste is...
She beats you down.
That load-bearing haste.
Immediately.
Oh, man. Okay.
Then we got the boy.
Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury. The Twitterverse hates this card. They think it's bad. And I continue to think that those people are very, very not good at the game. Saying that as somebody that plays 96 lands in a brawl deck. It's a white, a red, and 1. It's a 6/6. It's our last Elder Giant, or it's not our last. It's our third Elder Giant from the Theros cycle of Uro and Kroxa. When it enters the battlefield, sack it unless it escaped. When it enters the battlefield, it's a lightning helix, 3 damage to any target. You gain 3 life, and then it escapes for a red, a white, and exiling 5 cards from your graveyard.
The large thing here is a lot of people on Twitter are like, Lightning Helix isn't that good. And I'm like, yes, you're right. Lightning Helix by itself is not that good. But have you tried Lightning Helix on a 6/6?
This is fade 9 damage a turn.
The only thing that would make this card like even more nuts in my brain is if it had haste, and there's plenty of ways to give it haste.
Yeah, I think any red-white deck in the format wants to run this. I know Burn splashes white. It's going to run this. I think Boros Convoke runs this.
It could run it, yeah.
It's
a good answer to a creature, gain some life, and also have some inevitability.
And I mean, if you get board wipe, your entire deck is 1-drops. So, like, just exile them and play
that's plenty of cards to exile to them, yeah.
Yeah,
it's nuts. It's really, really good. It ends the game so quickly.
I think it's better than Kroxa, but it is still worse than Uro, and Uro's banned for a reason.
Yeah, because people who've played against Inferno Titan know that it can be if it attacks, like the game pretty much ends most of the time.
Which is hilarious because that's also like there's only one of the Titans that's played like at all.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, you can't split the damage, so it's a little less versatile. But does that matter? I don't think so.
I mean, to gain 3 life and have a 6/6 body the turn that you escape it is massive. Yeah. Like that is this card alone escaping is enough to stabilize. And
yeah, especially if you do it all in one turn. Imagine like playing it, lightning helixing someone or something, escape it, lightning helix something again, and have a 6/6 for next turn to do it again.
It's also only 3 mana, so like you can there's plenty of stuff in white that lets you just go get a 3 mana creature.
Yeah.
So
you can Coco into this.
Imagine. I am excited to see this card do something. I think it is going to be good, and I think everybody is going to feel dumb when they realize how good it is.
Agreed. Then we got a very gas, probably commander only, maybe fringe modern.
This totally has a modern deck. This totally has a modern deck.
This is the Necro Bloom. It's a colorless and then Abzan colors, so green, black, white. It's a legendary plant, has landfall, and it's a 2/7. So landfall, you get an 0/1 plant, but if you have Field of the Dead conditions, so if you control 7 or more lands, you get a 2/2 black zombie creature. instead. And then it also has this little neat little thing where it has land cards in your graveyard have dredge 2.
So dumb. They
Yeah.
never should have printed this.
I don't think
This
it's
is no. This
I
is gonna
think
go
yeah.
incredibly hard. This is
I
gonna go incredibly hard.
I don't see it in modern, but you'll have to prove me wrong.
Yeah,
But I do
I'm
see
gonna,
it.
I'm gonna
I
build it.
100% see it in Commander. I think this is gonna be one of the most popular commanders out of the set, and I definitely see that. Like this, I think this is gonna be up there with Lord Windgrace for like competition for being your lands commander.
I think the only reason it doesn't matter. Red and 6 isn't in modern anyway, but it doesn't have the red for red and 6 for other formats. But like, I mean, I don't know. Like it's 4. It's a 2/7. It doesn't die to a lot off the rip. Like
Yeah.
it if you hold it till turn 5, it comes in. It makes a 0/1. Like you're playing green.
At least one, if not two.
Yeah, you're playing green. You have plenty of ramp. I mean,
See, like I could
Field of the
see
Dead's banned in the format too. So like,
I could see like going turn 1 Arboreal Grazer, Flare of Cultivation, turn 2 Necrobloom,
See,
and
you've already built the
just-
deck.
and like seeing where that goes. But I'm not sure because like I think like the land cards in your graveyard have dredge 2 is secretly the most important text on the card.
Because you're going to get fetch lands. You get a fetch land with it every turn,
Yeah. So
and make 2 2/2s. There were 2 0/1s, and then eventually 2 2/2s.
yeah, it could be ridiculous, but we'll see.
Because
I don't know.
Because you fetch your surveil lands, you fetch your shock lands, you fetch your what's the other? There's another land that has land types you could fetch with fetch lands. I don't remember which one it is.
I mean, you have the triomes mostly,
Oh yeah, the triomes. Yeah.
but yeah,
So, I mean,
it's-
like
yeah.
it gets you there. I think. I think this card's gas. I think there's a deck for this. I think there's gonna be some weird sneaky tech with it. It is Abzan. I mean, it's coming in colors that want to do graveyard shenanigans.
Yeah, so
So-
we'll see.
Yeah, hype on this hard.
Then we have this one. I kept this one in here, even though this is only 100% a commander card, but it's my favorite commander specific card out of the set. So I wanted to talk about it real quick. So I'm gonna make this really fast. Arna Kennerud, Sky Captain 2, and then Esper, so white, blue, and black. Flying lifelink 4/4, human knight. The big thing is it has ward, discarded cards, so having ward on your commander that you're paying 5 mana for is good. Look at Voja. That's why it has ward. If it didn't have ward, that card would be dog. water.
However, Ward discard a card. Not as good.
Not
as
as
you
good
think.
as you think.
I
but
love Graveyard Trespasser. I'm playing Graveyard Trespasser in Mono Black and Standard, and 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yo, they're not gonna discard a card to kill this
and then they do.
3/3, and then they do, and I'm just like, oh, you're crazy.
I don't know if that's a testament to how powerful that card is in that format, or it's just a testament to not caring about discarding the card because of how much card advantage the format has. It's interesting.
I think.
But anyway.
I think the exiling cards is just scary to people.
True. So then the rest of the card is whenever a modified creature you control attacks, double the number of each kind of counter on it, and then for each non-token permanent attached to it, create a token that's a copy of that permanent attached to that creature. So it's a modified Esper deck, which is unique in its own right, and I love it. And I'm excited to copy all the equipment. I'm excited to copy random auras. I'm excited
Yep.
to have a bunch of random +1/+1 counter themes in a non-green deck. So yeah, I'm here for it.
I mean, this might be good and timeless. Like,
I don't think it's
But
gonna be good in timeless. I think
I think
you
being
lose the
5
game
mana.
before you pay 5 mana. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it being 5 mana is too slow. But I can show and tell it in.
I mean, timeless right now is like
Show and tell. It's show
no,
and tell.
right now it's getting heisted. Heist has
Oh yeah.
ruined timeless for right
God,
now.
I hate alchemy. I am very staunchly against alchemy.
I like alchemy as like a standalone format idea, but it should be like if it's gonna be on the client, it needs to be the only thing on the client.
I don't. or not, or in its own separate thing. And you can only play, like, you have to be like go out of your way. I think the way that Timeless is constructed, alchemy cards shouldn't be in it. It's already supposed to be this super technically expensive format.
Oh, it's
And
expensive.
yeah,
Everything is wild cards, and wild cards are way too much.
true. But let's move on. We'll talk about how much I hate alchemy later.
We got you
This
got
is
one of
the
your
boy.
cards, baby.
This is the boy. Uh, Ren is my favorite planeswalker. It's my favorite character in the whole game. They better bring her back. That's how I feel about it. It's a crime that Grist got the Flip Walker card instead of her, but R.I.P. the girl. But for the first time ever, we have 6. It's 2 and a green. It's a legendary tree folk. He's a 2/4. He has reach. And whenever 6 attacks, you mill 3 cards and you get to put a land from among them into your hand. And then as long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace, which is discard a land and you can cast that spell by paying all its other costs.
Yeah, this card is hard to evaluate for me because you want non-land cards in your graveyard, and you want plenty of lands for retrace effects. So maybe like unless there's something that's really good that you want to retrace all the time, I'm not so sure. But either way, I think it's a decent card.
Yeah, I think there could be a deck for this. There's probably some sort of I would say green red that this runs, and it probably does a lot.
I mean, I could see this is gonna be interesting, but I could see like a loam style of deck playing this.
Yeah,
Because you can then you don't always have to dredge loam to cast loam if you have
you can
6 out.
you just discard the land, cast loam, and then get the land back that you discarded for loam.
So you like, I could see it being useful there, but again, it really depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's plenty of. I mean, even if it's a green black deck and your self mill is still what you want to do in that deck, it is kind of sad that he has to attack to trigger it. But
Yeah, if
he's
he
a
was an
2/4.
ETB, I think he'd be way better. But
Yeah, he's a 2/4. He doesn't die to a lot.
yeah, he dies
And
to
you
enough.
get the retrace anyway. So
Yeah, I guess the retrace is something that you kind of get depending.
the attack trigger is just an enabler. Like you really do just want. I think the retrace.
Yeah, you're
is
playing
probably,
it for the retrace 90% of the time.
And so, but I know hype for this card. I'll probably build a commander deck for it, to be honest.
All right. So here's a card that has skyrocketed in my brain. This is like Kozilek's Unsealing. It has, as the days go by, there's more
The
things that my
possibilities
brain.
on
The
this
third
card,
eye. The third eye is
infinite.
opening, and it's all Bird Wizard. Okay, so this is Nadu Winged Wisdom. 1, a green, and a blue. Again, legendary Bird Wizard. It's a flying 3/4, and it has creatures you control have whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability, reveal a top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. So,
and it's important to note that the disability triggers only twice each turn is inside the quotations. So each creature triggers twice. It can trigger twice each
yeah,
turn.
it's not the ability as a whole can only trigger twice. It's each creature can only trigger this ability twice. So, as something that me and one of my friends have been building for Modern is this deck, and big thing here
You
is
and everyone else.
the big thing here is we get to Coco into every single piece. We get to play Scoot Swarm and make a new creature that can trigger twice every single time we get a land off of it.
Bristly
And
Bill.
Bristly Bill triggers it when the land enters the battlefield, puts a +1/+1 counter, and then triggers Nadu again. You have things like Sylvan Safekeeper, which is a card that is coming to Modern with this set, which allows you to sacrifice those lands to give target creature Shroud for 0 mana, which then also triggers this ability again. So you also get the protection and do it. The only issue with this card is with that specific card is that you get Shroud, but you can always target it multiple times to get the ability before it resolves once to give it Shroud.
I think you honestly put white in this and run the Ephemerate.
I mean, I don't want to run the Ephemerate in my version of the deck, but I want to run I'm running Coco, and along with Coco, I'm running Recruiter of the Guard, which also got printed into the set because Recruiter of the Guard just makes your Coco go farther and can get every card in the deck besides from Nadu. So if you hit a Nadu and a Recruiter of the Guard, it gets anything else in the deck that you need. But yeah, I think the deck has legs.
No, that's called Lightning Greaves.
Well, you don't play Lightning Greaves, so you don't want it to have Shroud.
Well, it doesn't matter. You just blink it. Just move the Lightning Greaves. Moving the Lightning Greaves just triggers everything.
Yeah, but the thing is that I like Shuko, which is another 0 mana equipment, but it's 1 mana to play, 0 mana to equip.
That's the gloves.
The +1/+0 card, yeah.
Yeah.
Or again, Bristly Bill, which triggers it all. Or
Bristly Bill is gas. Bristly Bill's a payoff too. Like he's a big finisher with.
The big thing also is that so here's a little tech for all of our listeners, for all 25 million of you, right? Because we're the #1 rated podcast according to your mother.
Hell yeah.
The secret tech is Nissa. The Lotus Cobras. Because you Lotus Cobra, which obviously works well with the landfall theme, right? But also it digs for an elemental or an elf, and you don't play any other elementals but Cavalier of Flame, which then gives all your Scoot Swarms haste, and you kill them on that turn.
Yeah. That is hilarious. That's so good.
You just make a crap ton of red and green mana as you're doing this, and you have to get a little lucky, but you kind of got a bunch of redundant ways to keep triggering it, so luck might not really matter.
This is like that one deck that Vesuvia Dupomancy deck that Seth from MTG Goldfish played, where it was all 1 mana target spells, and then
there's so many redundant ways that can make this thing continue going. The only fail state that I've seemed to have come up with is not having enough creatures to work through the fail state. I feel like the moment that you have 3 creatures and any way to like target them multiple times on a turn, you probably win the game. Especially if you have Nissa. Like I think Nissa is like super key. Granted, the big thing is you want to play like a decent number of lands. That's the flex point, the dex building like issue that I'm having. I'm trying to figure out what the right number of lands to spells is, because you pretty much always want to hit lands for 95% of your flips off Nadu, or have the cards that you're flipping over be relevant / cheap enough to cast. And almost all of them have to be creatures. So like we get to play things like you could play Eldritch Evolution. This is the deck that I'm 100% playing a Boreal Grazer and Flare of Cultivation, because I can go a Boreal Grazer, Flare of Cultivation, Coco on turn 2.
Scoop? Go to game 2?
Coco on turn 2 and see what happens.
Yeah. No, Scoop.
So yeah, I think number one, again, I've said this a lot in this cast, but I think Coco's might be back on the menu because of the green flare, and specifically because of a Boreal Grazer. Maybe not, but I think that those 2 cards we'll see play together.
And Fury's out of the format too. Like 90% of the stuff you hit with Coco just gets murdered to a Fury anyway.
Yeah, but now we don't have to deal with that, and I think that just means that Coco stock's going up. So especially if turn 2 Coco is significantly better than a turn 3 or turn 4 Coco. It's ridiculously better.
Especially if it goes into combo pieces. Like if the only creatures in your deck are combo pieces, like the Coco's on the menu.
You can still like
hot Coco.
You can still negate the free negation, the pact of negation, not the pact of the other one.
Force of negation.
Force of negation. You could still do that, but if I go first, like, and that's the only answer you could possibly have to answer me, then I'm happy. Like you have to have that, and that's my turn 2, and I'm still significantly amounts of mana ahead of you. So
and all of the creatures in the deck, like, are good on their own. Like if you just do Nissa, Nadu, Bristly Bill, and Scoot Swarm, like,
you can still win the game through that.
Yeah, like Bristly Bill is insane. Like that card. I think
is absolutely the more I play with it in standard, and the more that
you hated Bristly Bill,
the more the card is like going up the list. It's so ridiculous. Like
it's so funny.
Nobody wants to kill this 2/2, and then the 2/2 is the reason all my other creatures are killing you. So
yep. And I
Anyway,
mean, especially in modern, there's so many ways to dump multiple lands onto the table. Like it's just,
yeah.
it's just how it goes. What do we have next?
Maybe in the future I'll have like a deck list actually solidified and we'll talk about it on the cast because I can probably talk for an hour about this deck. So let's just move on.
Well, next we have Kudo, King Among Bears. I heard you like bears, so I got you some bears. You
So-
get a bear, you get a bear, you get a bear.
So
It's
yeah,
green and a white 2/2. It's a legendary bear. Other creatures have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to the other types. Important to note, doesn't turn off abilities, just makes base power 2/2.
so this is not a modern card, not most likely. I don't see this being a modern card unless there is some like sort of Selesnya. I hate to say it, but
Pyroclasm.
hate bear deck that would like just to be making all your things smaller. But this is 100% like my new version of Gaddock Teague. Like Gaddock Teague's a good card. It's probably going to be in the 99, but I think this is just a nuts commander, and I am all for putting people into the prisoner's dilemma with cards
Yeah.
like humility, with cards like there's a bunch. Okay, there's the list goes on and on.
Yeah, like this
But-
card's good. It the only thing that it doesn't do is turn off Constructs. It actually just makes Constructs better.
Yeah, it makes card constructs bigger unless you have other cards to do that with. But I want to make a hate bear deck that are literally all bears. So that's what we're doing.
I mean, technically they are all bears.
We're living up to the name today.
This card is definitely gonna be maybe a one of in Elves and Modern, but
At least I can see it as one of. So it's
definitely in the
Eladamri.
99.
Yeah, Eladamri Corvet Gadol. Green, and a colorless. I don't know if I said that right. Sue me in the comments. Tell me how to spell it. Right with the pronunciation. Whatever. Legendary creature, Elf Warrior, 3/3. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast creature spells from the top card of your library. So we've seen both of those effects on multiple creatures, so that's nothing new.
This
But
is
the
the
big
first
thing-
time it's been on an elf, though. Yeah.
True. And the big thing is it's a green, tap it, tap 2 untap creatures you control to reveal a card from your hand or the top of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield. So you get a Elvish Piper, I believe is the card I'm thinking about, style of effect. And that's kind of gas, or like a Fauna Shaman kind of effect, I think is actually the card I'm thinking about. Either way, you
Fauna
get the
Shaman is the discard a card
Oh,
from
no,
your hand.
you go get the card and put it in your
Yeah.
hand. Now, either way, this is a huge cheat on big creatures. It's 1 mana to put a big creature into play. It's not only does it do it randomly from the top of your library, but you get to kind of preemptively see it because it has those other 2 lines of text, which
Also,
is relevant.
the big important thing here is it's activate only during your turn. This is still an instant speed combat trick if
Yeah.
you have a creature that ETBs to do something.
Yeah, it's not a sorcery speed restriction. It's just a your turn restriction, which I think makes this ability significantly better. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried it at sorcery speed and was like, it's too bad.
Yeah, I mean this flash
But
is
yeah.
in a Crater Hoof Behemoth during blocks. Like
Yeah, you've already blocked, and now I'm taking it out.
big boy.
The big thing here is I am sure that this card goes into an elf deck in Modern, and I don't know how much of this card brings up power level of said deck, but I think that it becomes an important linchpin in the deck.
And I am a big fan of the you can look at the top card of your library. My favorite card in standard right now is Fiddlefip.
People tip.
And Arma hates him, thinks it's the worst card ever printed. I think it's
Bastard.
fun. I think it's cute. But at pre-release, there was a guy that pulled one and ran it, and I kid you not, he never looked at the top card of his library.
A Future Sight is a weird card, and it's hard to play with if you haven't played with Future Sight before. So
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I like casting the creatures. It's better than lands. So let's move it on. Yes, Utter End at Home. This is Obtruse Appropriation. It's a black, a white, and 2. It's a devoid instant. Exiles target non-land permanent. But now you can cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you can spend colorless mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. I think this is probably definitely better in Commander. You may see some fringe modern play, but I think I mean it's exile based removal is good. Like it's just it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, this card's gonna be, I think, hard to see modern play, but I definitely think it's definitely gonna be utter end number 2 in
I
your
think
Orzhov decks.
if there is some creature that has a death effect you want to ignore, I think this will be you board this in to deal with it.
Could be, but you also want an effect for yourself.
Yeah, because then you get to cast it. So like it's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I will. I think this is one that again we see tried in modern, and then it ends up being a sideboard card tested in modern, and then it either takes off and we see it stay in the sideboard, or it just falls out.
Yeah. And we got Cranial Ram, which is the
Whew,
Pauper watch
whew.
list card. It's a common black and red artifact equipment living weapon, so it gets a Phyrexian Germ 0/0 token when it enters the battlefield. And equipped creature gets +X/+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control equipped to. So there's a lot of cheap artifacts at common.
This card is single-handedly responsible for the banning of all that glitters in Pauper.
I believe so. Yeah, because all the glitters plus
Gavin
this would
very
be
said so.
ridiculous. I think it would be
It
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's I like Pauper as a format to watch. I think a lot of Pauper content is fun and hilarious. It's interesting to see cards that we normally consider unplayable in other 60 card formats be showcased. It's also a relatively cheap format. Pauper Affinity has been like the number one deck in the format for a while. I think this pushes it in a different direction because it was. I mean, Galvanic Blast does all the things you want it to, Mirror Enforcer, all of that. So I'm excited to see Rakdos Affinity. I know there's a Rakdos Affinity creature coming down the line on the episode, and I'm here for Rakdos Affinity of in modern in general, and even to see what happens with it in Pauper.
Oni Cold Anvil is a hell of a drug.
Oh man, I love getting absolutely stomped by the Oni Cold Anvil deck.
So then we got the opposite side of counterbalance and power
Oof.
balance as a red enchantment. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the two spells have the same mana value. So
This card is bad. I 100% am on the team. This card is bad, but it's fun in Commander. Modern play is literally zero.
I
Literally,
think
you
this
will never
card
play this
sees
card.
a ton of play in Legacy because everything is the same cost.
Yeah.
So like,
Gosh, could you imagine Force of Willing something off the top, and then I flip the 5-drop off the top and get to cast it?
yeah,
Because this doesn't this ignores timing restriction.
Yep.
So if you flip into a 5-drop creature, you just get it. Like
you also get opponent casts a brainstorm. You get a brainstorm or a ponder or whatever off the top of your library.
yeah.
So I think
Fatal Push.
I think it's definitely going to see play, in like a Legacy format. Modern, maybe not, probably not because we don't have
important
top.
to note
But
that it's a cast trigger.
Yep.
So you don't get to fatal push your off the top into and kill your opponent's Ragavan.
yeah,
But yeah, no, this card's bad. I would probably play it in Commander just for fun. I like counterbalance top in Commander. I think power balance top is going to be hilarious in Commander, but that is about it.
so then we start a couple slides of energy cards. This is the card that I'm interested in, and I'm not sure if it's good enough. This is Wheel of Potential, 2 and a red sorcery. You get 3 energy, and then you may pay any number of energy for each player who may exile their card. Sorry, each player may exile their hand and draw X cards, where X is 7 or more. You may play those cards you own that exiled this way until end of turn. So you can pay 7 energy and get a new hand and keep your old hand for the next 2 turns. And your opponent can wheel if they want to.
It's energy is such a mixed bag. It's such an undersupported, or has been such an undersupported mechanic until basically this set. there's still, as at the time of recording, there's really only one card that interacts with energy, and that's the really bad Black Farewell.
Yeah, there's not a lot of ways to drop energy off your opponents. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this card alone, it's not good. This isn't a card that, like, none of these energy cards you're gonna play unless you're playing an energy deck, and that is the problem that I mean, I guess they kind of fixed their problem that they had with, well, not really, because they did the 1 mana draw card, get 2 energy.
Yeah.
So but like, this is, I don't know, at the worst, it's
I mean, no
3 mana.
matter what, like, so it's you can be 3 mana, draw 3 cards if you're empty-handed.
Yeah.
Which like storm. I think this is like a storm card 100% of the time. But I also think with the enchantment that got spoiled yesterday on Friday, this card might be better now. But it's one of those things where I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's like a 4 of. It's probably more like a 2 of. But I think like if you do get to pay that 7 energy and you like haven't found a way to end the game, but you have a bunch of like wheel spinning cards, like a bunch of ways to draw cards and do stuff like that, paying your 7 energy to get a whole new hand is probably going to be good enough to get you there most of the time.
Yeah. And it's getting the 7 energy that's the problem. But yeah. Where are we going? Okay.
So the rest of like the decent energy cards minus the enchantment that's on the next slide. So this is a bunch of energy cards. So I'm just going to read them very fast, and we're going to kind of quickly go through them. So we got Royal Cartographer, 1/3, a blue and a colorless. Landfall. Whenever a land enters battlefield and you control, you get an energy counter. Tap it, pay 6 energy to draw 3 cards. This is both a energy generator and an energy payoff. This card's probably going to be good.
I think so. I think if there's an energy deck, if there's an Izzet energy deck, which it has to be Izzet at this point, that's you may be able to splash green into it. But I think this card is absolutely in the deck, and I think this card gets fatal pushed 100% of the time.
Then you also have Tune the Narrative, which is a 1 blue instant to draw a card and get 2 energy. This card is ridiculous. If you have any,
gets banned. If there's an energy deck, this card gets banned.
If there's a good energy deck that becomes like format defining, this is probably the card that gets targeted. Then you have Galvanic Discharge, which is 1 red, choose target creature or player, and then you get 3 energy, and you may pay any number of energy, and it deals that much damage to that permanent. So you get to blow up a creature or a planeswalker. It's an energy sink, as well as just being 1 mana, get 3 energy in a pinch if you don't really want to target anything.
The important thing is you can target yourself. If you just want to make the energy, target yourself.
It's not player, it's creature or planeswalker.
Or it's creature, yeah. Just target one of your creatures. Like,
yeah, you don't have to pay. So like it has like a fail state. So like you don't have to pay the energy to get the energy. So it still can be a 1 mana 3 energy card, which is pretty good.
If they Tamiyo Safekeeping or something, like their creature you target, you don't get the energy.
No, you still get the energy. It's a period. You get the 3 energy, period. And then you may pay any amount, and then
it is period. Yeah. I should get new glasses. Next we have Volatile Stormdrake. It's a 2 mana blue and a 1 3/2 Drake. It has hexproof from activated abilities and triggered abilities, which is the first time we've ever seen that line of text. It does have flying. And then when it enters the battlefield, you exchange control of Volatile Stormdrake and target creature an opponent controls. If you do, you get 4 energy, and then you have to sacrifice that creature unless you pay energy equal to its mana value. This card is a lot of the cards in this set that have are balanced versions of other cards. This is Glittering Drake.
So I like this a lot. The more I think about it, I think this card's actually just kind of nuts. So like it's 2 mana for 4 energy, which is huge, right? And then you don't have to pay energy again. So you steal their creature and sacrifice a creature, but you also give them a creature, so it kind of feels like a bad thing. But then you realize that you've given them a target for cards like Galvanic Discharge to do things with, and you don't have to pay the energy you get for your 2-drop. So you can
the hexproof is, I think it's hilarious because it's like you give them the creature and it's they can't respond to the trigger on the stack. Like they're kind of just stuck with you swapping because they have to either like kill their own creature or
yeah.
like wait till they like or but once you give it to them you can't like activate it or trigger an ability.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
target it with activate or triggered abilities, but I can target it with spells. So like I can always be like, here's Galvanic Discharge. I'm just also going to get 3 more energy, and that's 7 energy for my wheel.
Yeah, it's I don't know. This card's funny. I think it if it sees I don't think this sees commander play. We'll be honest about it. I think this is
Well,
hilariously
Commander and
bad.
Energy and Commander plays every single energy card it possibly can. So
Yeah. So, but let's move on to Unstable Amulet.
this card, the more I
Um,
see it, the more I think this card's bad. But it's up here anyway.
you were really hype on it a couple of days ago,
Yeah,
and you
and
kind of fallen off.
now I think it's bad.
It's an artifact. It's 1 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, which these worse than Galvanic Discharge. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Unstable Amulet deals 1 damage to each opponent. That might be the best line of text on the card if we're being honest about it. And then you can tap it, pay 2 energy, and impulse draw. But it stays playable until you, and it does say play. So if you hit a land with it, you can play the land.
Yep.
But it
stays
doesn't-
exiled until you get another card under Unstable Amulet. So until you tap it and pay again, you can cast the spells.
the fact that it doesn't the second ability there where you get to do the ping doesn't require the card to be exiled with the amulet, I think is the only saving grace on this card.
Yeah, and like you get to hide a spell underneath of it and
Yeah,
like use it later.
I think plot is the big payoff here. And I know that plot's really good in standard. I think plot's probably definitely too slow for modern.
Besides
But
the bird.
what?
Besides the bird.
Yeah, besides 6-shot show off, that card's absurd. But I love plot. I love the way that it plays. I love the way that it feels. I love the interaction with it. I mean, this card works with Cascade. It's
Discover.
Discover. Like I don't know. Like it's one of those cards. You probably.
I think it's more of a fun card than it is a competitive card.
Yeah.
Unless you're like really burning them out and like.
I mean, I'm gonna put it in my Discover.
Draws.
I'm gonna put it in my Discover deck, my Commander Discover deck.
Yeah.
So, because that deck sucks.
And then
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like maybe the 1 damage might push you over the edge, but it probably won't. The more I think about it, it's not like unless you're like going hard on like the impulse style effects, like Experimental Frenzy, stuff like that. Then like it could go off.
See timeless play. This might be a timeless card. Let's be super honest about it. I
don't think so. I think it's too weak.
One can hope.
I think it's
uncommon.
way too weak. Yeah.
Let's do Wrath of Skies. This card is hilariously something. It's one of
crazy
the cards of all time.
Yeah.
It's an X white for a sorcery. You get X energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy and destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy paid.
The big thing here is that it doesn't hit planeswalkers. It's kind of like an Invindral Disc in that sense, but also you just pay 2 mana and destroy all the constructs from like the Simulacrum synthesizers, from the Karn himself, from Urza, from a bunch of things. You get
even then you could pay 5 mana into this, just net the 3 energy, and then still blow up all of those things.
Yeah, and the big thing, it's X or less, so it doesn't have to be specific. So you can always just pay a bunch to get a bunch of energy, and then only pay the amount that you actually want to blow up.
I don't know. I think
it's more like a pernicious deed. It's closer to a pernicious deed.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of white energy, like
there's a couple
things.
Yeah,
like there's the one there's the proliferate guy, and then the
one
the
drop
Soul Sister.
the Soul Sister that gains life and makes energy whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. But yeah, either way, I think this is like a one of the best wraths, and it's probably gonna be a commander all-star. It's probably gonna go into every commander deck. Besides from that, I'm not sure about modern. It might be a cyborg card at best. I don't know. I'm no because I feel like the deck is more of like more hard on is it, and the white splash might kill that. And I think that you're 100% going more of a storm route. So I'm not really sure if you want a wrath and that style of effect that you don't already have access to between like Pyroclasm and Slag Storm and things like that. So I'm not sure. But next we have an artifact that could be good, probably not, but we'll 100% see commander play like every single time. Any single time there's energy, you're going to put Is It Generatorium in the deck. It's a red and a blue artifact. If you would get one or more energy, you get that many +1 instead. So you just get additional energy every time you would get an energy. Tap to draw a card. Activate only if you paid or lost 4 or more energy this turn. So if you pay much energy, you get to use it. But
if there's an energy deck in Is It, this is in it. This is probably a 2 of.
I don't think so anymore because of the next card, but we'll talk about it. But yeah, I think that this has become. This was an idea that I was having, but when the new card spoiled, I think this card is out and the other card is just in.
Then let's just go look at that other card.
If you play Dynavolt Tower, also, I think like you probably play that in this deck too, because Dynavolt Tower is kind of gas. But now we have Aether Revolt.
This card.
The enchantment that's named after the set of Aether Revolt. So this is 2 and a red enchantment. Has Revolt, who would have guessed? As long as a permanent you control is left the battlefield this turn, if a source would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2 instead. So the cool thing for me is that this makes that amulet deal 3 every single time that you play an exiled card. So like the amulet could maybe be okay, but we'll see. But the big thing here is that whenever you get 1 or more energy, it deals that much damage to any target. And that is separate from the Revolt trigger. That is just what the enchantment does without Revolt. So
it is a less good version of All Will Be One.
The important thing here is that we have a 2-drop 3/2 that gives you 4 energy. So that's just 4 damage. Yeah. Well, we have a 1-drop that gives you 3 energy. So that just becomes a lightning bolt.
There's there's a red-green. There's a Gruul Infinite energy combo right now. Yeah. So, like,
it's interesting, and I am 100%. If there is a energy storm deck style of deck, this card sees play in it 100% of the time. This is the energy payoff. This plus Dynavolt Tower becomes obnoxious because every time you cast an instant sorcery spell, you get energy from Dynavolt Tower, and then most likely that instant sorcery spell also gives you energy, and that's 2 different sources of energy, so that's a bunch of damage. So yeah, I think this card is going to be the linchpin for that deck.
Yeah, and if you trigger Revolt, I mean, it increases.
Yeah,
it increases the damage that it deals by 2 as well. Yep. So
also, every single energy is 3 damage that you would have gained, and you play a fetch land and you triggered Revolt. So Revolt is really easy. You sacrifice a treasure, you triggered Revolt. So I don't think triggering Revolt is going to be an issue. I think finding ways to kill your opponent also won't be an issue. I think the main issue here is casting the spell and getting to do
untapping with it and living to untap. Yeah, it is 4 mana. That is a little slow.
That's the harshest thing. We got to figure out how to do that, and I think if we do, then the deck builds itself.
It's Ragavan. It's always Ragavan. What do you mean?
Always Ragavan.
It's always Ragavan. I mean, it's
Ragavan does make a treasure which triggers Revolt.
So. And what set was Ragavan printed in originally? Or what plane is he from?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Captain Karzef. Yeah, from the boy Kaladesh.
Yeah, this card's hype. I think if there's an energy deck, this is probably this is definitely how you win with it.
Then we got another energy payoff.
This is the broken one. I've misread this card multiple times. My little picture should be next to this one because I misread it originally. We have Primal Prayers. It's 2 green. It's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. You may cast creature spells with mana value 3 or less by paying 1 energy rather than paying their mana cost. If you cast a spell this way, it has flash. It's
Yep.
I thought it was you have to pay energy equal to its mana value, and it's not that. It's just
Not
one
that at
energy.
all. It's just one singleton energy for
It's
no matter.
and there's the crappy baby Atali
Oh,
that
I took him out, but it's the 2 mana raptor, 2/1 enters battlefield, gets 2 energy, and then you flip the top card of your library to reveal a creature card, and you make
and it's a non-land card.
non-land card, and you may pay energy to cast it.
It's but I mean, even if you don't do that, like it goes infinite with this, and you have infinite ETB with Aether Revolt, you win the game. Like
Yep.
it's just you just play 2 4-mana enchantments. So if you're running green, that's you just win the game. Like it's just that good.
Hey, so I want to Boreal Grazer and play Primal Players on turn 2, please. And then every card in my deck is a Lauren.
Oh well, you have to have the way to blink it. The infinite combo is a different card, but this is
Yeah.
This is play that, get 2 mana. If you can bounce it back to your hand somehow.
This is also a card I was thinking about putting in that Bird Wizard deck because I don't have a bunch of ways to get energy yet, but it's on the list of maybes.
I mean, either way, like all of your creatures on that deck are under
There's
3
one
mana value.
creature in the deck that's not 3 mana value, and that's Cavalier of Thorns.
Yeah, but
Cavalier of Flame.
This puts your other combo pieces into play. This might as well be a Coco in your hand.
Exactly.
When we get to the next card, I want to talk about my the infinite combo.
Okay. Well, I took the Raptor out. So if you want to,
this is a different one. Totally different one. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Aloran. If anyone has played Legacy, Aloran is a huge card in a huge deck there, and I think it's probably going to have its time to shine here because this is the same style of effect.
This is the balanced version of it, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It's balanced until we look at this card, Guide of Souls. It's 1 white. It's a 1/2. So we have Power Crept Soul Sister. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life and get an energy. Whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy, and when you do, put 2+1/+1 counters and a flying counter on an attacking creature. It becomes an angel. This is where the infinite combo comes in.
Yep.
This goes on. You play this. You play the and you can do it all in one turn. You don't have to do anything until turn 4 with this deck. You play Primal Prayers. You pay the 1 energy to play Guide of Souls, and then you pay the 1 energy for a Serac, and you have won the game.
Yep. It bounces itself every single time.
Yeah, it's just it does what it does. You don't do Tomb of Annihilation, and you just infinite Serac triggers, and there's a dungeon that deals 1 damage to somebody. You win the game.
You just complete all the dungeons as many times as you want, 20+ times, and kill your opponent.
Is the Serac modern legal? No, right? It's like
yes, he's D&D.
Oh yeah, Baldur's Gate is a modern set.
The big thing here for me is, again, a Boreal Grazer, Flare of Cultivation. Turn 2, you have access to this.
It's modern is going to be awful for a month.
I don't know. We're going to figure it out, but I think
thank goodness Bloomburrow's coming, because it's just going to be the whole thing.
To me, like, this is like everyone heard. I think Wizards heard the jokes everyone was making about Modern Horizons 2 and being like, this is Commander Horizons 2 with some modern cards, and they were like, hold my beer, and they decided to just shove all these cards into modern.
And I mean, there's a couple of good Commander cards in this set, but nothing like there was in Commander Horizons 2. Like, I mean, I think what modern cards from Horizons 2 made it? The Evoke Elementals, and one of those got banned.
Pretty much. Evoke Elementals and Archon of the big black Archon.
Oh, yes.
The Reanimator target.
What's next? What do we have next? Oh, yes, this one. I love this one. Echoes of Eternity. It's colorless 3. It's our first printing of Kindred, which is, of course, replacing the tribal super type. It's a Kindred Enchantment Eldrazi. It if you a triggered ability of a colorless spell you control or another colorless permanent you control would trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And then whenever you cast a colorless spell, copy it, you can choose new targets for the copy. This is double Pan Harmonicon, but only for colorless.
So the big thing here is lands are colorless. Now, if you have a way to get this out, like either by ramping a whole bunch, playing a bunch of the soul lands, because there's a bunch of 2-mana colorless lands, getting this out fast, and then having like triggered abilities on lands, like for instance,
You double surveil.
Valakut, surveilling, anything like that.
Yeah.
Mystic Sanctuary would trigger twice.
Maze of Ith. Oh no, that's activated.
That's activated, yeah. So
I mean, this double triggers Ulamog. You get exile a third of your or 75% of your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
It's double trigger constantly draw 8.
Take their whole hand.
Yeah,
much.
it's. I think this is still a commander card. I don't think this is. I think it's just. I mean, you might get away with it in Eldrazi Tron. I know you're gonna try it.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I think this is probably most. You play this in every single Eldrazi deck, hands down, in Commander, and it might see something happen in an actual dedicated Eldrazi deck in Modern, but probably not.
The ruling is, I mean, either way, it's gonna do. This is ultimately terrible with the green, the thief, because they get to draw 2. You get to exile 2, but they get to draw 2.
Yeah, for the first time, yeah.
Yeah, Thought Seer,
and if it
you
dies,
get to get 2, and they get to, yeah. So I don't know. This is kind of a.
It's a nombo. It's a nombo with those 2 cards, but
it also doubles all your devoid spells. So
yeah, this card is definitely like the best Eldrazi card printed. The best Eldrazi support card printed in a long time. So
yeah, well, and we don't have them on here because they're commander precon cards, but there's the 5 color Eldrazi's now.
Yeah.
So your Eldrazi decks no longer have to be bad, and you can play all of the really like silly devoid Eldrazi's that just do good things. So I don't know. It'll be
Ulek and Azalog or something like that.
Yeah, Ulek is Ulamog and Kozilek fused together. The other one is not any of them fused together. It's just that one is them fused together.
So the next card we have is the Ghost of the White Orchid. So it's White Orchid Phantom 2/2, first strike flyer for 2 white, but it also enters the battlefield in Field of Ruins the opponent. So it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target non-basic land, and they may search for a basic land, put on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. Tapped is huge because these effects just put it on the battlefield. It being tapped is kind of important.
This is a Boros Convoke Soul Sister sideboard card. It's you bring it in against Tron, and that's
I'm here to play D&T, baby. I'm Death and Taxes all day.
Hell yeah, I guess that too. But like, this is absolutely this is a sideboard card 100% of the time.
Because there's a lot of decks in Modern where you do just get to Stone Rain them pretty often.
It is just a strip mine. Yeah.
So I think this card is going to see play. It might even make the old. I don't know if you remember the old Tidehollow Scholar, Thalia style of Taxes deck that used to play a bunch of things. This could possibly make that style of a deck kind of have a comeback, a resurgence.
Where you can't search your library. Let's go.
You can't search the library. You can't draw more than 1 card a turn. All your instant sorceries cost 1 more. Yeah, we get to be rude to everyone.
I mean, it's a flyer. It's a 2/2 flyer with first strike. I mean, it dies pretty easily, but at the same time, first strike's relevant. Destroying Tron lands is relevant.
Yep.
I really, as much as I want Tron to come back and be a deck because it's just awful. it's such a goofy deck that it's strong. It does what it wants to do, and then now there's a 2/2 that shuts it off. Slows it down.
I do like that the 2/2 is pretty good. It plays well with Aether Vial because now it's just an instant speed Field of Ruin. So. But up next, we have Strix Serenade, which is just Swan Song V2. It's 1 blue instant counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. If controller creates a 2/2 bird creature token with flying, which is
Super relevant.
gas. Yeah, I think
There's
it's pretty gas. It's definitely going to see play 100% of the time in like CDH.
it might even this might even be this is gonna be a sideboard card in modern if it's
It could be a sideboard card in modern. Yeah, if the 2/2
you know,
bird isn't that important, then yeah.
I mean, again, you board this in against Tron and you counter their filters.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like this card's just funny. I like it. If yeah, that's it's yeah, it's not a commander card. I think I put a swan song in one commander deck one time and blew somebody out with it, and like they scooped because I swan songed like something.
I mean, the big thing is that CEDH loves Swan Song, and this is just another card for CEDH. So
Yeah, I mean, imagine getting your mana crypt turned into a 2/2.
yeah. So now we have a Commander reprint, a legacy card that got see a ton of play when it first came out. Canna Capaneer. Kappa
Cannoneer.
Yeah.
Canna Capaneer.
Yeah, that one.
That's going on a shirt.
So it's a 5 and a blue, but it has improvise, so your artifacts can help cast the spell. With Ward 4, which is pretty much hexproof. And then whenever it or another artifact creature in this battlefield put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it becomes unblockable. So it just gets big.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Affinity is still a deck that does things. I think Simulacrum Simulator has it's also this creature's an artifact. I mean, this triggers your synthesizer. This, you can duplicate it. It's a 4/4 unblockable that just gets bigger whenever another artifact enters. So your constructs make it bigger. Yeah, I want there to be an Affinity deck. I want there to be a good Affinity deck, and I want Affinity to be relevant.
Yeah, and I think this card is trying to do that.
Yeah, what's next?
Well, that plus Synthesizer. Synthesizer has also put Affinity a little bit higher tier.
Synthesizer's absurd. That card is,
it's ridiculous.
It's so bad. Like, they shouldn't have done that. Next we have Shifting Woodland. I have high hopes for this card. It's a land. It enters tapped unless you control a forest. It taps to add a green, and then it has Delirium, pay 2 green and 2, and then it becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. And then, as you know, Delirium there's 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. Again, this doesn't exile, which has always been the thing that these types of cards do. So I think that this makes this card better. The question is what deck does this go in? Do I build a deck for it? Can I just jam it in? I mean, it doesn't have a land type, but can I just jam it in Domain and then be able to reanimate Atraxas with it?
I mean, the big thing for me, well, the track says you don't get the enter battlefield trigger because it's already on the battlefield.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I get a 7/7 with lifelink, first strike, death.
The
touch,
important
flying.
thing is this becomes omniscience still. Like,
oh yeah, it does become omniscience. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, you just make it omniscience, and then you have
it becomes Ulamog V2. It becomes
a lot of things. So I think I think
this card technically can become Emrakul.
I think this card will definitely see play in some format. We'll 100% see some EDH play.
Oh, it'll be in Commander for sure.
Yeah.
It's going straight into my Necrobloom deck. What's next? I like this one. I am hype on this one too. Our Arch of Innovation. It is from the same cycle. At the time of recording, we've only got these 2. It is the blue one. It enters tapped unless you control an island, and then it has pay a blue, tap it. The next spell you cast this turn has Improvise. I think that there's going to be a Grixis in Affinity deck come out of this set. I'm gonna build it and will play.
I mean, Affinity used to be 5 colors, so because there's plenty of 5-color artifact lands, so like they could play this. My only thing is like the spell that you're giving Improvise has to be like good enough and
Blood
not already has. No, I'm not playing that card in
Blood
modern.
for the Blood God. Skull for the Skull Throne. I know it's modern, but it's just Blood for the Blood God.
Yeah, it really does depend on what the spell you're improvising is, but it could be good.
Spell. I mean, it's Omniscience. Like, this plays an Omniscience.
It plays a lot of things, but if you're playing Omniscience, you're not playing Omniscience in Affinity. So like that's the thing, is you got to find what the payoff is, or maybe this goes in like some sort of control deck that makes a bunch of artifacts that then you can use to cast like a big spell for cheap. Maybe that's what it does. But
Yeah.
I could see it doing something, but again, we have to find the right
What's
spell to
this-
improvise.
The blue finale. I mean, this goes into the blue finale huge if you have the Karn
They
structs for
can,
it.
yeah.
I mean, even then, like it. Did you cut is the Rakdos affinity guy still in the PowerPoint?
Yeah, he should be in here.
Okay, perfect. But we'll talk about my ideas when we get closer to him.
So then we have
Uh,
the land that will 100% already see modern play. It is guaranteed. Phyrexian Tower, legendary land. Tap, add a colorless. Tap, sack creature, add 2 black. It is nuts. This card's going to
This
see a bunch
is-
of play. It's going to be good.
I think this card's good that it got reprinted because it's one of those cards where it's like
It used to be
absurdly
$40, right, I
expensive.
believe?
Yeah, it's like an on average $40 land. So having it get reprinted is good. Having it be reprinted in modern is insane. This will 100% see play in both modern and timeless. There's no way it doesn't. Timeless is gonna love this card. This is if you because it's Dark Writ isn't restricted. You can play through 4 of them. It's just Emo Tutor that's restricted.
Yes.
So this is definitely turn 1 swamp, turn 2 Phyrexian Tower, sack whatever 1-drop you played, play Necropotence.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah, I think this card's going to be good. It's going to see play. It's probably going to go into a Yogg deck too. It's already got a home for it. So
yeah. I mean, it's like we said earlier on the flares. The black has creatures that wants to sack. So
Yeah.
It's,
So we got Spymaster's Vault, which is the black version of the cycle, which enters battlefield, tap and control swamp. Tap, add a black, tap it. Target creature you control connives X or X the number of creatures that died this turn. I
think this card's
personally,
bad.
I think
I
this
think this
land
card's
is bad. This is definitely the worst of the cycle, I think.
I mean, CDH or in EDH, this card's absurd. Because you're gonna jam this in Dimir Zombies, and you're gonna play Gravecrawler 1,000 times and sack Gravecrawler 1,000 times, and then kill yourself with Connive. You're gonna connive. You're gonna play Lab Maniac, the only non-zombie in your deck, and then you're gonna draw your whole deck.
Yeah.
Like this card has no relevance in modern. I don't think it's good in timeless.
Yeah, this is probably just only an ADH only card, but
the
it's
only-
a cool idea.
I mean, the only 2 connive cards that are any good are Ledger Shredder and
Rafine.
what's this? Rafine, the stupid Sphinx that I can't wait to see leave standard. And the only reason those 2 cards are good is it gives Esper Control the 2 things that it needs. The one thing that it needs, huge creatures.
Yep.
So this card's bad. I love this artwork though. It's super cool. For the audio listeners, it's just little floaty ghost balls in a nice, fun hallway.
It's a tranquil
glittery.
hallway. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we have next? Okay, I love this card, Warren Soul Trader. This goes infinite in 1,000 ways. It's a black and 2. It's a zombie goblin wizard. All 3 of those types are incredibly relevant. And it's pay a life, sack another creature, create a treasure token on a 3/3 body. Again, this goes infinite with Gravecrawler just immediately.
Yeah, this card just does everything.
It's crazy. This is gonna. I kind of want Gravecrawler to come back and be relevant in modern, but again, Graveyard Hate is so like you win game 1, you don't ever win again.
Yeah.
So that is just sucks.
That's the big thing too. That's why I put Marionette Apprentice up here as a 2-drop. It's a black colorless 1/2 fabricate 1, which means you can put a +1/+1 counter on it or create a single 1/1 colorless server creature token. Whenever another creature or artifact controls put to the graveyard from your battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is like a payoff for Warren Soul Trader because you pay 1 life, sacrifice a creature, and create a treasure token. So you're going to pay 1 life, sacrifice your Gravecrawler, and then you're going to make a treasure token. So the creature's going to die. They're going to lose 1 life. Then you're going to sacrifice the treasure token to replay your Gravecrawler, which is going to be an artifact that got sacrificed. So they're going to lose another life. So this whole loop you're paying 1
twice as fast.
Yeah.
It's twice as fast as Blood Artist, but it's also not as safe as Blood Artist. I think I would still rather have Blood Artist or Cutthroat.
Yeah. And the big thing is that
Just-
like this does make things a little bit faster, but yeah, we'll see.
It's and also the Marionette Apprentice goes right into Rakdos Affinity or Grixis Affinity.
It does.
It's a two mana creature that puts an artifact on the table and gives you 3/2, or essentially a 2/3 on the table.
Then we got Blood Moon at Home, as you like to call it.
Ooh, this card is. We're bringing fish back, boys. This is it. It's Harbinger of the Seas, blue 1 for a Merfolk Wizard. Non-basic lands or islands on it, and it's on a 2/2. It's Merfolk has needed this for so long. I think up until there's been like what 2 ways to make an island, make your opponent's lands islands,
Pretty
and
much.
one of them is incredibly bad, and then the other one is also
Well,
equally
the
bad.
other one they play, but
Yeah.
again, I personally don't like this card.
You
But
just
that's
don't like
only
because it turns off Mutavault.
it turns off all of your lands, and you only ever really need them to have one island for your island walk to matter. So I'm not really sold on paying 3 mana on in a main deck.
You're hosing, because what blue spells does Domain play?
Yeah, like it's good in like the sideboard, but I definitely don't think it's a
Oh, no, it's totally a
60.
side. It's a one of main deck, and then the rest are in your sideboard, just like you do Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon.
I can see that.
It's Merfolk has been bad for a long time, so it's time for it to get some love. I mean, what was it? They gave it that enchantment in Ixalan that just looks really good on paper, and nobody plays it. The one that makes 1/1 hexproof Merfolk tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't see play at all, and it should. But I mean, I guess it's too slow. I don't know. Merfolk is one of those. Merfolk is just as fringe as elves, like, except elves is better because you get to overrun. At least the elves get trample. The Merfolk just kind of like get chumped for days.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Let's move on to the next one. This card is the one that I'm definitely more hype on after the days have gone by. We have Emperor of Bones. It's a black and 1 skeleton noble, which skeletons are notoriously horrible. It's a 2/2, of course. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. It has Adapt 2 for a black and 1. Adapt is you pay the cost, and if it has no +1/+1 counters on it, you put the adapt value on it. So in this case, 2. And then whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on Emperor of Bones, you can put a creature card exiled with him into the battlefield under your control with a finality counter. It gains haste, and you sacrifice it at the next end step. The finality counter is when it dies, it exiles.
Yeah. I like this for like stocking up a bunch of creatures underneath of it, and then just having 2 or 3 instances of putting +1/+1 counters on it and getting all of those creatures back at once to just do like an alpha strike type of situation. But
Yeah.
it is a card that dies very easily, so it's probably not going to be
skeleton
good.
without regenerate. Like they forgot what skeletons do.
Regenerate has been retired as a keyword, so that's why.
Yeah, now it's just tap it. It gains indestructible until the end of turn.
But yeah, I don't. It's a card that I want to see work, but it probably won't because it's too easy to kill.
It's. I mean, CEDH or not CEDH. I don't know why I have that on the brain. I think in EDH this is a good card. I think it's really
It could be, yeah.
at the if you run it in 99 in an Orzhov deck, and you could just have a way to blink the creatures, and you just get to keep them forever, or you run Hex Parasite or whatever that awful Dread Horde card is that removes counters from things. I think it's good. If you can get the finality counter off of it, it's a good card.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And
what do we have? What's next? Yes, this you got it. Take it away.
yeah, so this is White of the Reliquary, so it's the zombie version of Knight of the Reliquary. It's a 2 mana 2/2, which is a green and a black for Golgari. Vigilance. it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and you tap it to sack another creature, to search the library for a land card and put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So this is slightly rebalanced. Also, this is harder to use Knight of the Reliquary, but it also fuels sacrifice synergies. So
This is a limited card. This is you if you're playing sealed, playing draft, and you get this card, you run it 100% of the time.
I think my favorite thing about this is that not only does it like reference Knight of the Reliquary in name and mana cost and everything, but also even the flavor text is telling you that this is Knight of the Reliquary revived, which is sick. So
it adds vigilance, which is hilarious. Not a lot of black creatures with vigilance.
Yeah.
So this card is, if I drafted this, I'm building this deck. Like, it's just, I think in limited it's too good to not run it.
I think it's probably not going to be good for modern unless there's some weird deck that likes this kind of effect. But I can definitely see it in Modern.
Bloom. Arma is visibly angry at me saying that. What's that? Oh yes, Crabomination. This card is so funny. I would play this as a one of just because of how funny it is. It is a black and 4 for a crab demon. I think that's the first time those two words have ever been printed on a card together. It has emerged from Artifact, which is the first time those words have ever been printed together. It emerges for 5 black. A reminder, emerge reduces the cost by the mana value of the artifact or creature sacrificed. And then when Crabomination enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles the top card of their library, a card at random from their graveyard, and a card at random from their hand. And then you can cast one of those spells from among the exiled cards this way without paying its mana cost.
This card is either very good or very bad. And
it goes in Grixis Affinity. It goes in Grixis Affinity. The ceiling on this card is atmospheric. Like, let's be real. Like, you can hit it. You're hitting Atalis. You're hitting Atraxas. You're hitting, you name it, and you're hitting Ugins.
Too excited.
I think one of main deck, maybe one more in the sideboard, and run it as a 2 of, just because you don't want 2 of them in your opening hand.
I don't like the card because I think the random is the issue, and I don't like it. I think if I could see their hand and take a card, that'd be better. But
I don't know. I like random because it's all random. Like, none of it is. Like, it's just whatever cards on top of their library, which is technically random. The graveyard random is whatever.
Yeah, and then
like, at worst, you hit 3 lands and don't get any benefit from it, other than getting rid of 2 of your opponent's lands that they probably need. As for how quickly you can get this out, I mean, Mirror Enforcer reduces it to double black.
True.
So I don't know. I think this card is hilariously funny. When I build Grixis,
but Affinity, is it like, if you're playing the Affinity, isn't it like Distended Mindbender just better because you get to actually target it, exile the card? You don't get to cast it, but you get to take it.
Yeah, I get to cast it for free on this one though. Like, that's the other thing. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the hitting 3 cards, like, the graveyard card might be relevant. The hand and the deck are always relevant. Like, it is what it is. If I can do this for double black and all it costs me is a 4/4, and I have Oni Cult Anvil and I make a 1/1, and then I can just sack the 1/1 to Legion Extruder to make a 1/1 and a 3/3. Like, the ceiling on this card is atmospheric. The floor is I get 3 lands.
This is one of those things where I say whatever you say, Slate, and we keep it moving.
Yeah.
So now we got.
You're mad about Izzet artifacts in standard, and you're gonna be mad about Grixis artifacts in modern. It's fine.
So now we got Shadow of the Second Sun, which is a bad card, and I don't want to see anybody play this outside of EDH for fun decks. Besides from that, this card's bad.
No, I don't even want to see it there because this card's just that bad.
Yeah.
Like,
it's 4 blue enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's post-combat main phase. There's an additional beginning phase out of this phase. The important thing here is that the end step happens after the untap, upkeep, draw steps.
Yeah,
So
there is no
and
main
there's no,
phase 2.
you don't get a main phase 2. You just get main phase 1, you get combat, and then you don't get a main phase 2. So you have to play everything before combat, which is like interesting, I guess, but at the same time,
is there a bad upkeep trigger deck where you put this on an opponent in Commander and then laugh as they don't have fun?
yeah, this card will go in a Zedru deck 100% because you give them things like the 20 life, the cumulative upkeep cards, so they get another cumulative upkeep trigger.
If you have original Shield or the Whispering One, go ahead and sack another creature, homie. Like, you're losing 2 a turn.
You could also in like in a donate style deck, you could give them Herald of Leshrac, so cumulative upkeep, sacrifice a land.
Yeah, however, this is good in Winter Orb. If you're running stacks, you put it on yourself. You don't get a main phase 2, but you could untap that extra land.
True.
No,
either way, don't play this card.
Run it. No, don't play this card. Yeah, this is a bad card. If you pull this out of a pack, eat it.
Yeah, it's 10 cents. So we got Brain Surge. It's a blue and 2 colorless instant. Draw 4 cards and put 2 cards at the top of your library in any order from your hand. So it is Brainstorm for 2 more mana, but 1 more card. I don't know if this is going to be good. This is one of those cards where it's probably too expensive, but if you have like a Rawl out and it becomes 2 mana, I think that's way more reasonable. So
this is gonna be a commander card. This is gonna, people are still gonna lock themselves with it. It's don't brainstorm, lock yourself. Don't brainstorm on turn 1. You are killing yourself.
Yeah, it might be playable, but it's gonna be a hard sell.
I mean, it is also just an uncommon. So
yeah,
what's that? Oh, here's my boy. Yeah, I'm Skura Iron Eater. Hits 6 black red. He's a demon. He's a 5/5. He has affinity for artifacts. Whenever he enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is half of the number of artifacts you control rounded down. And then you can pay a red and 3 to sack an artifact, and he deals damage equal to that artifact's mana value to any target. I think this is the payoff in Grixis Affinity. I think he comes down on, goodness gracious, as turn 3, maybe as fast as turn 3, maybe turn 4, and you start sacking Mirror Enforcers to do 7 to the face, like with Oni-Coat Anvil. Because I mean, Oni-Coat Anvil is oppressive on Arena. It's fast, and I think this makes that modern playable. And I think this is, if this deck works, it will be like the energy deck, and it will be hilariously fun, and it will shake some things up.
All right, my opinion of this card is bad and not good for modern, but going to be good for EDH because it's a fun card and replaces Bosch. Besides from that, I think the card's medium at best and probably won't see any play, but we'll see Slay try it. So
yeah, I love it. Yeah, I was right about, is it artifacts and standard? That's all that matters.
So now we got Phalia, Exuberant Shepherd, 1 colorless, 1 white, 2/2 legendary creature, dog with flash. Whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent. At the beginning of the next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it enters the battlefield under your control, you get a +1/+1 counter on Phalia. So it's a decent blink card. I think it has some uses for modern. It probably will see play in blink decks, probably in the 99 though. I don't think it's good enough by itself to be a commander because we just have such better blink commanders, but it could possibly see some play in modern because blinking and getting ETB effects is kind of cool. So
why does this have flash?
Don't know. I thought originally when I first read it, I thought it was an ETB and an attack trigger, but it's not. So I think it's just to flash it in and then attack immediately on your turn.
I mean, you're probably right. That just seems silly. Like, why not just give it haste at that point then?
Yeah, it's one of the things where flash, like haste isn't a white keyword, I think. So they were like, we got to make sure people don't get mad at us color pie breaking, so we're going to give it flash to essentially accomplish the same thing.
Okay, great value haste.
Yeah.
Shout out to Walmart. I like this card a lot too. Sowing Mycospawn. It's a green and 3. It's a devoid Eldrazi fungus, and this artwork on this showcase is amazing. Sick. It's so good. This is the most Lovecraftian Eldrazi I think I've ever seen. It's a 3/3. It has kicker for a colorless and one. When you cast this spell, search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield. You just get that for free. And then whenever you kick it, you get to exile target land. That
Panza,
is,
let's go, baby. We're back on
I
the
mean,
menu.
that is where. I mean, this gets around. How many modern decks jam like a Darksteel Citadel for some reason?
Like none.
I think I've seen it like twice in some jank, and it was hilarious both times. But it's yeah, like it's just funny. Like you get to get rid of a problematic land. It doesn't let them replace the land.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is it ramps
Yeah.
you and doesn't let them replace a land.
It gets it out of their graveyard, so they can't bring it back with anything like with Loam and Legacy. You can't get it back with just card sucks for Legacy. So, but you couldn't get it back with a Ren and 6. So this is, I don't know. This is a hilariously fun card. I think you probably like almost never kick this, and you just play it as a 4-mana 3/3 Eldrazi.
Yeah, I think like this is a card that Ponza players have been wanting for a long time, and like people might try to play Ponza, but then they remember that Blood Moon and friends get killed easily now. So
Yeah. Well, and there's still there's I mean the thief, the thief Eldrazi that exiles Blood Moon is
yeah.
very good. What do we have next?
We got Birthing Ritual, which is kind of like a
balanced
fixed
birthing pod.
Yeah, fixed birthing pod. It's a green and a colorless enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature, look at the top 7 cards of your library. Then you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, you may put a creature card with mana value X or less from among those cards onto the battlefield, where X is 1 plus the sacrificed creature's mana value. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. So it's a birthing pod effect that happens every end step, but only in the top 7 cards of your library. I personally think this card
it doesn't whiff. It doesn't whiff. That's the other thing. Like
you don't have to sacrifice until after you've looked, so you know if you're gonna whiff, so you don't have to sacrifice.
oh yeah, like I think this might see play. Like this might see like there might be a fringe deck that comes out of this.
Like, I don't even want to play it in my bird deck because not sure that the 7 cards is gonna be enough to guarantee I don't get like only one option. So
yeah, well, I mean, or it blows or you blow everything out and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, the showcase art on this again
oh yeah, this is great.
It's so good.
Yeah, Burial Grazer growing and becoming Nullhide Ferox is hilarious.
Anamorph. What do we have next? This is a card. I love these. I said it once, I'll say it again. I love the balanced versions of previously absurd cards. This is Psychic Frog. It's a blue and a black. It's a creature frog. This is, of course, the balanced version of Psychotog, which hasn't been a relevant card in a long time. It's a 1/2, and it says whenever Psychic Frog deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Psychic Frog, and then you can exile 3 cards from your graveyard to give it flying until end of turn. Now, this is the balanced version of an Atog, of Psychotog, which was monstrously strong when it was in its heyday. Psychotog was discard a card, give it +1/+1, and then you can exile 3 cards from your graveyard to give it +1/+1. So this is definitely the +1/+1 is permanent. And the evasion on the attack, I don't know, it's fun. I love it. It's cute. It's probably not very good. I'm sure
it's a great madness enabler. So it could possibly be like a good card in a madness deck, but
yeah, Psychotog hasn't been relevant in standard for many years. It is, and it's an Odyssey card.
Yeah, it's forever ago.
Yeah.
I can see this card making a deck exist, but I'm not sure how powerful that deck will actually be.
Oh, I lied. It exiles 2 cards from your graveyard to give it +1/+1.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's also still a 1/2, so that's the same. It's 1 mana cheaper, does a little bit less stuff, It's yeah, this is I don't know. I hope this card does something, but otherwise this is probably just draft chaff.
Probably. Chthonian Nightmare, black and a colorless enchantment. When enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You may pay X energy, sacrifice a creature, and return it to your hand, and return target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery.
So this is the balanced version of Waking Nightmare, which literally does the same thing, but without the energy requirement.
Yeah, I don't know about this card. It's one of those cards
Um,
that could see play, but
If you're running
I'm
the
not
three
sure.
drops that matter, like if Laura wasn't banned, or not Laura, Loris of the Dream Den wasn't banned, this is probably the you
Yeah.
probably play it in that deck.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, because there's not like at least at time of recording, there's not a lot of black energy stuff. Like
Yeah.
you can maybe run this in green, but at the same time, I think this one probably is one of those cards that's just cool, and you might play it to reanimate the 3 drops, and
Yeah,
that's it.
like there might be a deck here, but right now I'm not sure.
I,
But that's like a whole theme of this whole set. It seems it's like
mm,
cards that could possibly make a deck, but like you won't know until you figure it out. So
no, and I mean, like, there's still a good half of the set to come out too. So, what do we next? Oh, this one, yeah, Necro Dominance. It's black, 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 legendary enchantment. Skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life. If you do draw that many cards, your max hand size is 5. And then, if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. I think this is infinitely worse than Necropotence.
I think this card is bad. I think you don't
do
play
not
this
think
at
this
all.
card is playable at all.
Yeah.
I don't see a world where I want to play this card. The art is cool. I love that it's Croxa chained down. But everything that this card does is worse than, I don't know. I kind of like the way it draws cards. But
My only thing is that it draws the cards. So
Yeah.
we're talking about an Orcish Bowmaster format. We're talking
Yeah.
about a Shieldred format. So both of those two
Boy, I
cards
hate
punish
Shieldred.
you. And whereas
I mean,
regular
a
Necro,
Narset format, a
Right.
Narset. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like
Ugh.
let me flash in my Notion Thief against your Necro Dominance.
that's an EDH play. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's like this like the big thing about Necropotence was that it didn't draw the cards, it just put them into your hand. This drawing the cards makes this card infinitely worse, and then also reducing your hand size to 5 is like a nombo with itself, which I also don't like. So
and then also the if a card or token would go to your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead.
yeah, so
And
your dice triggers even on your tokens won't matter.
Yeah, and in Necropotence, it's only cards discarded,
You know.
so you can still self mill yourself with a Necropotence on the table and be okay. Yeah, I think this card was
It's a cool callback, but it's bad.
I think this card is better and probably playable, with the only change being the maximum hand size change. Like, I think if you just remove that line of text, this card is probably playable.
Yeah, but as printed, the card's dog. So we're moving on.
Yeah.
Sylvan
here's your
Safekeeper. Yeah, 1 green, 1/1. Sacrifice a land. Target creature you control gains Shroud until end of turn.
Not an elf.
This is not an elf, but the important thing here is that it targets and for free. Well, for free-ish because you still have to sacrifice a land. But like in talking about my Bird Wizard deck, this could possibly be one of the best 1-drops because you're gonna have a bunch of extra lands. You don't really care, but also it's a way to start the chain of things and also protect all of your creatures. At least as long as you're willing to sacrifice the lands. So I think
Just sacrifice all your lands in response and put all the triggers on the stack, so everything gets double shroud and
yeah, because that's the big thing too, is that like it does trigger your bird's effect at instant speed. So if you hit like lands, you get another Scoot Swarm in this instance if you're kind of set up, and then you just kind of keep going and keep going and keep going. So like,
I mean, there's an elf that taps the untapped target creature, so you just tap the elf to untap itself and draw.
yeah, you could do
Or
that.
do the 2 cards a turn. Yeah, it's silly. I kind of wish it didn't say creature you control so I could commit crimes with this, but whatever.
I
It's
think like
probably good that they didn't do that
yeah,
because
yeah.
against burn, let me just like that's a cute monstrous rage you have there. It would be ashamed if I gave your creature shroud.
Yeah, that would suck. A shroud, giving your opponent shroud would be a weird thing and hilarious. So I'm glad it doesn't do that. But
Yeah, it's
this is a
so funny.
reprint too, so like I'm also just happy to see it
Yeah,
reprinted.
true. What's like? I love this card. I think it's hilarious, and it's only good. It's a sideboard card. It's a Disruptor Flute. It's a 2 mana artifact with flash. When it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Spells with the chosen card name cost 3 more to cast, and activated abilities that aren't mana abilities can't be activated. I know at first you were like, "What does this card do? Why does this exist?" And it turns off Wandering Emperor. That's what it does. That's all
But
it
it's
does.
not. This is not standard though.
Yeah, I know. I just hate
So
Wandering Emperor.
number one, here's a funny comment. Every time I look at this flute, I don't know why, but all I see is Mists of Pandaria, the pandas playing the bamboo flutes.
It's a big like totem pole
Well,
looking
they get it's a
flute.
big ornate flute, but I like that it has flash, so you can like flash it in and like name a card during somebody's upkeep or whatever. I like that it's 3 more to cast. That's a large amount for this kind of effect.
It also like the other one is you because you can't when a planeswalker enters the battlefield, you automatically hold priority.
Yeah,
It's
you
not an option.
you don't give away priority. Yeah.
So this flashes in response to the planeswalker and turns it off.
Yeah.
And I think that is not to be, I think, in any kind of I mean, this is just they've printed so much stuff to make Tron better, and at the same time, so much stuff to make Tron worse.
Yeah, this is like a weird sideboard answer to a card type that I don't think necessarily matters. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
then we got our fun boy Gorilla Slam, bro. Signature Slam. It's a green and 2 colorless instant. I put this in here only because it's a good meme. I hope everybody loves this card as much as I do. You put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and then each modified creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Just a fun card. The art is amazing.
The people's elbow.
This is great. I was watching
did.
SBMTG, and he was like, I want a secret layer of this with WWE wrestling moves.
No, I want this secret layer. I want this to go back and be a Godzilla,
That
the
would be
new
hilarious.
Godzilla film
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
If
Just
you
Kong
haven't
beating
gone
up
to
Godzilla.
if you haven't gone to see Kong, Godzilla and Kong, it's so good. It's the most fun you can have in 2 hours. Well, yeah, Lone Dinosaur in Gorilla Territory doesn't stand a chance. So
getting
good.
beat
Just
up, bro.
everything about this card is, and I mean, like the ability is relevant. Like it does.
Okay, things.
Yeah.
The funniest thing to me, honestly, about this artwork is that the gorilla holding the feet doesn't have armor on, and the gorilla that's elbow dropping him does. So that means that the gorilla with the armor this is premeditated.
We planned this. Yeah.
This is what we practice for. This is what we train for.
They have a radar scanner. Whenever a dinosaur comes into the area, they're like, "Oh, it's time. This is it, boys. We've trained for this moment."
He's getting the people's elbow.
Path of Annihilation. I'm big on this card. It's a green and 3 enchantment. It's devoid. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you get 2 01 colorless Eldrazi tokens that's stacked for a colorless. Eldrazi's you have tapped to add 1 mana of any color. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, you gain 4 life. This is probably a pipe dream. Then again, Eldrazi Tron could come back, and this card is just a 6-drop on turn. Definitely faster than turn 5.
Well, it's a 4-drop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't. But you can't use the Scions don't make additional mana.
Yeah,
until the next turn.
Haste. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either
So
way,
I don't know.
I don't
If
like.
you
this
can get
card.
this card out faster, it's good. And that's the point of it. And I mean, if we're playing Tron, we're probably just getting it out because the Ugin land just taps for 2 colorless anyway.
I wish that this was like an Eldrazi Kindred enchantment, only because I want to be able to use like Eldrazi Temple to cast it.
Yeah.
But
probably
It's-
why it isn't, honestly.
It is not, and because of that, I don't like this card, and I think it's bad.
It's not. I don't think it's bad. I think it's not. I think it's probably just fair and balanced, actually.
Yeah.
And that's your problem with it.
So we have Fanatic of Ronus next. It's a green and a colorless 1/4. It taps to add a green, or if you have Ferocious, it taps to add 4 green, and it has Eternalize for 4, so you can exile it from your graveyard to make a 4/4 copy of it. So the big thing here is that this is a 2 mana dork that doesn't die to most cards that you play in the format besides from like a Fatal Push. Like it has such a big
And
toughness.
Dismember, Fatal Push, and Dismember.
Yeah, it's such a big toughness, and the 4 green. Like if you get to untap with Ferocious and make 4 green, like you are in such a good shape. So like I could see this card seeing play. It just depends on like what you're
I don't
playing
know.
after this. But
This is a big maybe for me. It's like this card's either gonna. It's the theme of the set. This is either gonna be a good card and we're gonna see it a lot, or it's gonna get played for a week and we'll never see it again.
the big thing for
it's-
me is this plus the Kiora Beckoner Behemoth, I think is the name of it. The one that untaps target permanent, that all it
Yeah.
is a passive and untap, is like really good with this card.
I mean, at the same time, if you give the Ferocious trigger, you can tap this for 4, sack it for some benefit, and then eternalize it off of its own mana.
Yep. But,
It's I don't know. This card might be mid.
Yeah, it's like we haven't seen this amount of mana being made by like a mana dork, so like it's hard to ignore this card. Is my general
Yeah,
thought.
I think I would still in Commander. I'm still gonna pick Sumberwald Sage over this just because it's 3 mana of any color.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do we have? Oh yes, Detective's Phoenix. I enjoy this card. I think it is. I hope this card ends up somewhere. It's a red and 2 for enchantment creature Phoenix. It's a 2/2 flyer with haste. It has bestow for 1 red and collect evidence 6. And it gives enchanted creature +2/+2 flying in haste, and then you can cast it from the graveyard using its bestow ability. I know that exiling cards kind of goes against what Is It Phoenix wants to do, but at the same time, I think that there is a possible sneaky bestow this from the graveyard win on that turn type play. I think maybe there's a different deck for this. I think you rush this out by at the end of your opponent's turn discarding Magnum Opus, getting the treasure, sacking the treasure, or playing a creature, sacking the treasure, bestowing this with the treasure and Magnum Opus, and then probably doing a bunch of damage.
Possibly.
That's yeah. Like I think that this card is one of those ones where you kind of look at it and you're like, this card sucks, and then you
Yeah, I'm firmly in the camp this card's bad, so
you
That's
might not
definitely
be.
me.
We might get lucky. I might get lucky.
Alright.
This one is this card's busted. This card shouldn't be printed. This should be
This
a
card's
rare
ridiculous.
1,000% of the time.
A white and a colorless 3/1, so it dies to a lot of things, but it's also a Phyrexian human cleric. Having the human subtype is gigantic here, I think. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. So that's just ridiculous. Like, especially in like a deck like humans, which has a bunch of low-costed humans. Then you also have like Thalia's lieutenants and the one drop. I always forget the name of the one drop. I want to say Thraben Inspector, but that's not the one drop I'm thinking about. The one that grows every time you play a human.
Spirant. Oh no, Champion of the Parish.
Yeah. So like this also then proliferates all of your counters from those 2 cards. Like I think this card is probably ridiculous. You get to put a counter on it and also start proliferating it. It's stupid.
There's plenty of white things that you can just jam for toxic, and all of that is relevant.
This card's ridiculous, and I would not be surprised if humans found a way to slot this in somewhere.
Oh yeah, I mean it's. I wish battles were good in modern.
I wish battles were good,
So
period.
bad. Battles are so.
There's
bad.
only like 2 battles that actually like matter. and that's like the ramp one.
Zendikar, yeah,
And
and Ikoria.
Ikoria is okay, but the Fiora one is seems playing Commander.
Gabakon is pretty good in standard.
Yeah, Gabakon is okay in
Yeah.
sideboards, but yeah.
What is next? Oh, this next card is this is one of the cards of all time. It's Kozilek's Command. It's colorless X. It's a kindred instant Eldrazi. Choose 2. Target player creates X01 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens that's sacked out of colorless. Second time this word's ever been printed on a card, by the way. Target player scries X, then draws a card.
Bro, Scries looks like it's spelled wrong.
It's like citrusy. Exile target creature with mana value X or less. And then the last mode is exile up to X target cards from graveyards. I mean, this is an Eldrazi. This does come in for pretty decently off of Ugin's or Eldrazi Temple.
Yeah.
It's technically you can make this a 7 mana Eldrazi, and it does a lot. Like it does. It's not that it doesn't do anything. It's that everything that it wants to do, you kind of want more mana for. Like the floor on this card is I exile an artifact, a construct, and draw a card.
Yeah.
For two mana, and then the ceiling on this card is I'm gonna scry my deck and make an army of 0/1s.
Yeah. So like
Also,
I can see this being okay in like a sideboard for specific matchups. Besides from that, I don't think
it's also
see...
like why is it target player for all of these modes? In what world do I make my opponent scry 15 cards and draw a card and give them a bunch of 0/1s?
I don't know, brother. Maybe there's some politicking here. I think in like Commander,
maybe, or when we're bringing back Rampaging Ferocidon, boys. This is it.
Yeah.
Ferocidon, make 51 ones.
Take 50 damage.
And then Rakdos Charm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this card's probably too bad to see play pretty much anywhere besides specifically Eldrazi EDH decks, but it might have some fringe playability.
Yeah, it's definitely not Cryptic Command, which has also apparently been power crept, and we don't like Cryptic Command anymore.
So now we have Ashling Flame Dancer, 2 and 2 red, Elemental Shaman, 4/4. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end, and you have Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, discard a card, then draw a card. If it's the second time this ability has resolved this turn, it deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If it's the third time, you get 4 red mana. So it's doing a red parallel to Omnath, 4 mana Omnath, the 4 color boy. Same kind of style of effect where you get a bunch of different effects if it effect triggers multiple times. I think this card could be good, but I think it's probably too slow.
I think the problem with this card is it only triggers 3 times. Yeah. Like, but at the same time, like if you can like Strike It Rich does things, Big Score does things, like this thing, like Big Score becomes discard 3, draw 3, like, or discard 2, draw 3, like whatever, make 2 treasures. And then you can just use a treasure to Strike It Rich and remake the treasure and then deal 2 damage to something.
It's not something, it's everything.
Oh yeah, it is everything.
It's each opponent and each creature they control.
This, I don't know if there's a Boros deck if there's Boros Burn where you ephemerate this, it's probably a good deck.
I don't know. I don't think I think it's too slow for modern, probably, unless there's some like crazy deck that really wants this style of effect. I don't think it's good enough for like a Storm style of deck at the moment. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is.
I don't even think this card's good enough for Commander. Like,
yeah, it could be like I think it's like a 4-fun Commander personally. I think it's like your mono red spell slinger.
You put this in the 99 for Imidane is what you do.
You could, yeah.
What do we have next? This is a reprint. Deserted Temple. It's land that taps for colorless, and you can pay 1 and tap it to untap target land. This is another one of those reprints that's kind of welcome. This card is at pre-release prices still just like right at $7. But for the most part, this card is about $10 for a land, and I think that no land should be more than like $3. So
This I think it like goes really well with like Phyrexian Tower. It goes really well with your boy
Nykthos.
Nykthos. It goes really well with Cabal Coffers. There's a lot of things that Deserted Temple goes well with in like mana bases. So I think it's gonna be like a land that's probably gonna find something silly to do. So
You are probably correct.
then we got, I believe, the last card on our list, Recruiter of the Guard, which I talked about earlier in my bird deck. But it's 2 and a white 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with toughness 2 or less, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle. I think this card makes Coco decks like even better. Like you got your Arboreal Grazer plus your Flare of Cultivation, be able to Coco earlier, but then you also get Recruiter of the Guard, which means that you can technically play more hits for your creatures because Recruiter also then gets it. So if you either find the card off of Coco or you find Recruiter off of Coco and then go get that card. So like, yeah, it doesn't go on the battlefield with Recruiter, but you still go have access to the card more like more often. That's the word I was trying to say.
Does Boros Convoke want this though?
I don't think so.
Like, is this mono white humans and that's it?
I don't. I think this is like a Coco deck 100% of the time. I don't think it's good. Okay, Imadane's Recruiter. What's its toughness? Is it a 2/2?
Isn't it a 2/1?
I'm pretty sure it's. If this can
I
get
don't know.
Imadane's Recruiter, then possibly.
Editor, pop that up here so we can see how dumb we are.
But
That's your editor.
That's me. I'm editor. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, your editor. Editor, pop up this Imadane's Recruiter that is absolutely 100% a 2/2.
Yeah, so like it can go get Imadane, so maybe Boros likes it, but I don't know. I think that this is a card that like opens up more like of the combo elements of the format than it does the aggression elements of the format. But I could be wrong.
I mean, wouldn't I still just rather just Knight Errant into Imadane's Recruiter?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, this card has potential. It's already in Commander. This isn't a new card for Commander players. I don't think I've ever seen any of us run it in Commander.
Yeah, I haven't.
I mean, granted, none of us are really playing humans in Commander either. I think the closest one of us playing humans is Killswitch playing werewolves.
It's human on one side, dang it.
Yeah, I've got the Orzhov Aristocrats deck where it's, I think there's a couple of humans because they sack and do fun things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this card is like it's not like a new thing in EDH. If you don't play it, you don't play it. But
is this rarity shifted too?
I'm pretty sure it's rarity shifted, but I am just happy that it has got a reprint, and I think it's gonna make waves in Modern. We have to see what kind of waves it makes. So
yes, this is upshifted from rare to mythic.
yeah.
So that's an interesting play. I'm not certain why they would upshift this. I don't think it's.
I think it was probably too good in the draft format because there's a lot of cheap creatures in the so far spoiled, like a cheap like by toughness concerns. So.
Is this how many times? Wait, is this? Let me pull up Scryfall really quick because is this accurate?
What?
Okay, this is. Oh, that is. This is a conspiracy card.
Yeah.
This hasn't been printed outside of that. That's why they upshifted this.
In case you didn't know, and all the cards that got reprinted have their original set symbol printed behind the text.
Oh, they sure do. I noticed that on the
Deserted Temple with
the Threshold lands too. I was like, what is that watermark on the text box? But yeah, so this is, I mean, okay, this is an $18 card. That's why this is reprinted. I don't know why they reprinted it at Mythic, if they cared about the price or if they just wanted to reprint it.
Yeah, I think it's literally just for like a sealed environment situation why it's got upshifted.
Maybe. It is what it is. We'll that's I think that ends everything we're gonna talk about, all the cards we're gonna talk about today.
Yeah, I think that's it too.
we appreciate everybody for hanging out. I hope we didn't run too long today. I'm sure we hit 2 hours again.
Yeah, we're a little bit over 2 hours.
Yeah, a lot of cards to talk about. As soon as spoiler season's over, we'll definitely slow it down, get some shorter episodes in. I've got some fun games planned for Arma. We're gonna do some fun, like guess a card. We're definitely gonna play some decks. We'll probably record that. I think we're gonna play in Cockatrice just because we're poor.
Either that, or
we're-
we'll play Spell Table and just print out proxies and just play against each other.
True.
On
We
camera.
we can do that too. There's yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff planned. We have all our links are going to be in the description down below. We have a link tree. It'll take you to our Twitter, our Discord. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcast. Make sure you hit the like button, click that bell, drop a comment,
I'll do all the things.
do all the things. Tell your friends.
There is one thing I was wondering. I was thinking about maybe doing like a deck list of the week once we get out of spoiler season.
Oh
For
yeah,
various
I'm in for
formats,
that.
because I'm a big brewer. I don't know if any of you listeners want to comment on that and have any ideas. I'd love to take a look and take a gander at them.
I definitely one of the video ideas I have planned, and we're definitely gonna do is I'm gonna do arena drafts and record myself playing them, and then we're gonna send it over to Arma and let him watch it and yell at me. Because
Yeah.
I play fun things, and also my arena draft luck is the worst thing you've ever seen. I will see all 36 rares at a table.
I don't draft often. I don't practice my drafting skills, but every time I go and like draft, for some reason I'm always doing good. I'm always like maybe one loss, but I've won multiple like draft tournaments. So like I don't know. It's not like I'm sitting here like a draft specialist, but yeah, you make some questionable choices though. So.
Look, I get to game in 9 times out of 10. I win my first 3, get to game 4, and then I'm playing against a guy who only drafted rares and mythics, and there's nothing I can do because his deck is so much better, because everything in his deck is like he's playing $1,000 standard deck, and I am playing. I'm drafting, like I'm actually just drafting.
My man's getting pranked.
It's awful. You watched me do one. It happened. You watched me draft, and you were like, "My God, this is actually
it's horrible.
Every single rare is just bad." We got our logo and our art in. Shout out to Box for getting that. Her Instagram will be in the bio down in the description down below.
In the bio.
I think it's there too. I think I put it in there just to be doubly sure. Hopefully next episode we have our intro song recorded and ready to go.
Hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, I know that they kind of have written what they want to do, so we'll get that in.
Aside from that, I think that's it, everybody. That's it.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We will see you next week for hopefully not another 2 hours of Eldrazi Horizon spoilers.
Bye.
Bye.